Chapter 261. The last doomsday meteor was so powerful that even Yan Xingqi and Master Qiwen together could not withstand it. The two of them were forced down again and again. Although the doomsday meteor had lost a lot of energy in the process, it still landed firmly on the Guardian Formation of Shunning City. Boom! With the huge impact of the doomsday meteor, the Guardian Formation instantly surged. The originally bright golden light shield dimmed, leaving only a thin layer of milky white light curtain. The remaining energy of the doomsday meteor had finally been exhausted. This scene made Yan Xingqi and Master Qiwen heave a sigh of relief. At least the fire Qilin did not destroy mountain-blocking city. However, what happened next made their smiles instantly freeze on their faces. The Guardian Formation had been weakened to the extreme, and the active demonic beasts outside no longer loitered around. They let out hysterical roars and rushed toward the direction of Shunning City. Pairs of bloodshot eyes lit up, as if they had been hungry for several years. Even Yan Xingqi, who had been dealing with the demonic beasts of the Hengduan Mountains for many years, could not help but feel the corners of his mouth dry and the saliva in his mouth bitter under the gaze of so many pairs of eyes below. "You too, shouldn't you have left already?" Lin Yuan looked at the two people who slowly landed on the ground and asked with a mocking expression. The Wild Demon Realm and the Kongming Realm had their own battlefields. However, outside these battlefields, the existences of these two realms were not allowed to casually make a move. If they did, it would be regarded as breaking the rules. When the two sides fought, the northern border defense line of the Xinwu dynasty would collapse instantly. If Lin Yuan had other identities, it would be fine. However, he was one of the beast kings of the Hengduan Mountains. Moreover, he appeared here when both sides were at war. If Yan Xingqi and Master Qiwen dared to break the rules and make a move on Lin Yuan, it would be tantamount to shedding all pretense of cordiality and forcing the existences of the Wild Demon Realm in the Hengduan Mountains to attack the Xinwu dynasty. Without a doubt, it would be a severe blow to the unstable Xinwu dynasty. Yan Xingqi just gave Black Snake a meaningful look and then left without saying a word. He wanted to protect this land, but at this juncture, when a large number of demonic beasts were attacking, it was best for him to remain indifferent. Even though he knew very well that without a strong foreign aid, it would be difficult for Shunning City to get through today's hurdle. Master Qiwen's temper was not as good as Black Snake's. In his opinion, with the death of Fire Kirin, he had been listed on the list of enemies of the organization behind the Fire Kirin. If not for Black Snake's interference, he would have returned to the Freedom Courtyard and continued to be revered Master Shi. Everyone had different thoughts when they had great power. Some people wanted to conquer the world, while others wanted to protect the world. However, such people were the minority after all. Most people would be like Master Qiwen, who only wanted to gain more benefits for themselves or their loved ones. Any stumbling block in front of them would be ruthlessly crushed. Of course, this was not to say that Master Qiwen was vulgar. To be able to stand out among countless people and reach this level, there were not many people who were easy to deal with. It was just that in this long period of time, after climbing to the so-called peak, they could no longer find the path to continue moving forward, so they gave up on continuing to climb. However, some people never gave up and continued to move forward. For example, Kirin, the beast master of the Hengduan Mountains, carried a heavy burden and moved forward on the endless road of the wild demon territory. No one knew how far he had walked, and no one knew when he would break through to the Demon King realm and become an existence that could shake the Tianwu continent with a stomp of his feet. Black Snake, you are very good. We will have a chance to meet again in the future. Master Qiwen clasped his hands together and chanted a Buddhist chant that Lin Yuan had never heard of. Then, he turned and left the place. However, as long as one was not an idiot, they could tell that Master Qiwen had said those words while gritting his teeth. Although he did not dare to attack Lin Yuan now, in his heart, he had already sentenced Lin Yuan to death. After Yan Xingqi and Master Qiwen, the two Void Realm experts, left, the nervousness on the faces of the members of the Association of the Demon Emperors slightly subsided. Pairs of fervent eyes immediately looked at Lin Yuan. That was the Void Realm. Just a slight release of his aura was enough to suppress them to the point that they did not even dare to speak. This demon emperor could directly confront these two supreme-level powerhouses of the northern region, and from the beginning to the end, Lin Yuan did not even have a flicker in his eyes. Although he was not arrogant, he at least put himself on an equal footing with Yan Xingqi and Yan Xingqi when communicating. Sir Demon Emperor, now we, Sherdong adjusted the grimace mask on his face and asked. There was a large number of demon beasts outside attacking the city. Things had already come to this point. Now, whether to fight or retreat, was it not up to Lin Yuan? Phew, Lin Yuan let out a long breath. His heterochromatic eyes squinted slightly, and he said indifferently, organize the manpower. Help the Xinwu dynasty resist the first wave of the demon beast horde. Shunning City was the last line of defense in the northern frontier of the Xinwu dynasty. It could not be lost, and it could not be lost at this time. The power behind the fire Kirin had actually gone in the wrong direction from the beginning. It was not difficult to take over the Hengduan mountain range, as long as you were outstanding enough. No matter how dissatisfied the Beast King Kirin was, it had already passed its growth period and was now a mature demon beast. Soon, it would enter the aging period. If it could find a suitable successor, it would naturally spare no effort to nurture that person. However, the fire Kirin had been on the path of conquering with force from the beginning. It was as if it did not put the fire Kirin in its eyes. Naturally, it would end in failure. After all, if it was just an independent power, and including the hidden powers, except for the mysterious dragon palace of the Four Seas, there was no other power that was stronger than the Hengduan mountain range in the Tianwu continent. Shunning City could be lost, but it could not be now, and it could not fall into the hands of others. This was Lin Yuan's target. It was also the first place that he had entered the sights of the Beast King Kirin. There was no room for any mistakes. A cold light flashed in Lin Yuan's eyes, and he quickly flicked his tongue. The members of the Demon Emperor's Association in front of him adjusted the grimace masks on their faces again, and marched toward Shunning City in a uniform pace. Although they hated the Xinwu dynasty, they were still humans in essence. Most of them even had their hometown and friends in the northern frontier. Let a group of demon beasts that only knew how to kill to break through. What a joke! Chapter 262. 3 days later. Puchi. Puchi. The sound of a sharp weapon piercing into a body resounded. King Kong, who had wrapped his right arm with leaves and herbs, slightly narrowed his eyes as he looked at a group of humans and demon beasts fighting each other hundreds of meters in front of him. His eyes were faintly discernible with a fierce look. The attack on Shunning City was obviously not as simple as they had imagined. After all, this was the last line of defense for the humans. Among the 6 border cities in front of them, except for the mountain-blocking city that was still under construction, the other cities basically only left a small number of people desperately trying to buy time for the main forces to retreat. It was not a battle at all. But when they arrived at Shunning City, the ferocious aura of these humans had even made the demon beasts feel a little bit scared. One by one, unknown, immature, or weathered faces fell under the claws and teeth of the demon beast tide. But the humans behind them were still dauntlessly advancing wave after wave, as if the demon beasts in front of them were not trying to take their lives, but some great benefits. Even a powerful beast king like King Kong was almost overturned under the crazy counterattack of the humans. If it were not for Bai Lu lifting him up, it would not only be his shoulder that was injured at this moment. It was estimated that the knife that was desperately slashed out by that human would have at least sunk into his neck. Under such an injury, King Kong really did not think that there was any possibility of him surviving. A creature with a fox head but a body similar to that of a human slowly walked up from behind. His pair of amber eyes fell on King Kong, obviously revealing a bit of contempt. He said in a deep voice, "King Kong, have your injuries been bandaged? Now, immediately, go to the front line for me." King Kong's eyes were wide open. 80% of his combat strength came from his hands. Now that he had lost one of his hands, if he were to enter the front line of the meat grinder again, what was the difference between that and sending himself to death? Although he already knew that the warlords sent by the Monster King court wouldn't treat their lives as their own, such an obvious act of targeting still made King Kong unable to control his temper. This was because there were Beast Kings resting in the camp. Most of the Beast Kings were not as severely injured as he was. There were even Beast Kings that hid behind to rest after suffering minor injuries. The reason the Overseer targeted it was because when the Overseer had just arrived at the Hengduan Mountains yesterday, he had bluntly asked them for the Fae. His words were very explicit. If they were not willing to give him the Fae, he and his subordinates would be heavily taken care of in the upcoming battle. The Vulpera snorted disdainfully at the indignant King Kong. It was very clear that no matter how irascible Kong Kim was, he wouldn't attack it. After all, although the rules of the Hengduan mountain range weren't as strict and complicated as the humans, every rule was an unquestionable existence. It was the military commander sent by the Monster King court to supervise the battle. If it was killed by one of its subordinates, the entire Monster King court would be furious. Therefore, its arrogance was justified. It really didn't put these beasts in its eyes. As if to show its authority, the Vulpera glanced at Bai Lu and said in a deep voice, "And you? How many times have I told you before? Hurry up and urge those hesitant and fearful fellows at the back to gather. Do you take my words for granted?" The hesitant and fearful existences were the Stoneclaw Forest ruled by the Black Snake. Under the Black Snake's rule, the Stoneclaw Forest was probably the only force that didn't give face to the Monster King court. No matter what order the Monster King court gave, as long as the Stoneclaw Forest didn't want to participate, they could use the inferno beasts that ran rampant in the Scarlet Flame Swamp. Towards this kind of shameless behavior, the Monster King court couldn't come up with a good solution. After all, it was true that the Stoneclaw Forest's beasts were disobedient, but it was also true that the inferno beasts were confined in the Stoneclaw Forest. Is this the military commander of the Monster King court? Fighting a war means putting all your men on the line. If you win, you win. If you lose, you become trash. Is that right? A hoarse voice sounded from outside the tent. The Vulpera's expression changed. His eyes instantly became fierce. He said in a cold voice, "Who is it? Come out." As soon as he finished speaking, a black snake with faint golden scales slithered its body toward the Vulpera. In an instant, the atmosphere in the tent froze. Others might not know who this black snake was, but how could the Monster Kings around the Stoneclaw Forest not know who this black snake was? The Black Serpent and the Fire Kylan were no longer a secret among the Beast Kings near Shunning City. In addition, the strength of the Black Serpent was already above all the other demonic beasts. With the Stoneclaw Forest as the center, there were not many demonic beasts that dared to go against the will of the Black Serpent. "I'll ask you one last time. Who are you?" The Vulpera's face flashed with anger. Ever since the Monster King court appointed military commanders, there had never been a case where the local Monster Kings didn't put the military commanders in their eyes. However, this scene really happened to this black snake. This mission wasn't difficult. The Monster King court didn't even try to attack the Shinwu dynasty's territory. After all, this time, the Shinwu dynasty had offended someone they shouldn't have offended. Therefore, the Monster King court had a good reason to attack the humans' territory. Therefore, it was already a great success for the Monster King court to rush some border cities. 6 of the 7 border cities were destroyed. Although it had nothing to do with the military commander, it still completed the mission perfectly. If it could also take down Shunning City, it would have completed the mission. After that, it would receive a great reward. In addition, in a mission that didn't require it to do anything, it could also obtain enough benefits for itself. This time, it targeted Kong Kim not only for the phase, but also to establish its prestige. As long as Kong Kim died on the battlefield, any Monster King that didn't want to be targeted by it would have to obediently send it a large amount of phase. It would be enough for it to make a lot of money before it returned to the Monster King court. Lin Yuan glanced at the Vulpera, and a hint of disdain flashed in his eyes. He stretched his body and said to Bai Lu, "I want all the details of your battle during this period. You organize it and send it to me." Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes turned and landed on the monster kings that were slightly injured. He said coldly, "What are you doing here? Don't you know the situation at the front line is urgent? Maybe I should think about it later. Are you still suitable for the position of Monster King?" Chapter 263. As soon as Lin Yuan's voice fell, the entire area was silent. His cold eyes swept across the area, and almost no demon beast dared to look at him in the eye. Compared to the other demon beasts who were afraid of the black snake, the Vulpera was so angry that his whole body was trembling. He growled, "How dare you? I am the military governor appointed by the Monster King Court. Who do you think you are? You dare to give orders without me? Do you still have the Monster King Court in your eyes?" When the black snake appeared, he felt that his authority was being challenged. If he couldn't take care of the black snake, he would never be able to raise his head and do anything in the future. Therefore, he was so angry that he didn't even bother to find out why the other demon beasts were so afraid of the black snake. He directly went up to the black snake. In his opinion, he had the Monster King Court behind him. No matter how powerful the black snake was, it wouldn't be able to touch him at all. "You! Take it down." The Vulpera pointed at the black snake. His body was still trembling slightly. It wasn't fear, but pure anger. The surrounding demon beasts looked at each other. No one paid any attention to the Vulpera. The atmosphere suddenly became quiet. They were afraid that they would offend the black snake. At this time, if the black snake was a little unhappy, it could start a massacre. The things that the black snake had done in the past were enough to prove this point. After all, this new generation of legendary demon beast king did not have a good temper. If anyone crossed the black snake's bottom line, they could only wait for the black snake to retaliate 10 times or 100 times more. "What are you waiting for? Go!" The Vulpera was so angry that his heart was hurting. He really couldn't think of anyone in the outer area of the Hengduan Mountains that had such a big influence. Even the white deer from the 9-colored deer clan, who had the support of the Traman clan, had to follow his orders obediently because of the Monster King Court, let alone the other demon beasts who didn't have any background. The military governor was very brave. In the war against Shunning City, he took the lead. In the end, he was killed by a round of cannon fire from the despicable humans. Not even his bones were left. Lin Yuan's voice slowly sounded. It was like a touch of coldness from the depths of hell, embellishing the fox person's heart. Immediately, the fox person felt a trace of fear. At the same time as Lin Yuan's voice fell, all the demonic beasts in the wounded battalion commander stood up and surrounded the Vulpera with cold faces. Pairs of eyes full of ruthlessness and indifference fell, forming a sharp contrast with the fervent and reverent eyes when the Vulpera had just arrived outside Shunning City. Bai Lu and King Kong followed Lin Yuan and walked a few hundred meters away from the camp where the wounded were placed before they stopped. "How is the battle going?" Lin Yuan glanced at King Kong and took the initiative to ask. He still remembered that King Kong's innate ability was to strengthen his body. It was difficult for ordinary swords to hurt him. Although he didn't have the special effect of the Golden Body secret art, in terms of defensive power, he was not inferior to the Golden Body secret art. So even King Kong was injured like this, which was really something that Lin Yuan didn't expect. King Kong looked at the battlefield outside the camp and said in a deep voice, "You also saw it. Although the individual combat ability of these humans is not as good as us demon beasts, their determination to protect their homeland is right here. 100 humans may not be able to withstand a round of attack from the demon beasts, but before the demon beasts tear these 100 humans apart, they will not retreat even half a step." Speaking until here, King Kong shook his head and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. The humans' behavior was not only to defend to the death, but also to play with all kinds of tricks. For example, the battle at the front lines was still ongoing, but the human side still dared to send out troops to attack the camp where the demonic beasts were taking care of the injured. As for those who attacked the demonic beast palace's food supply team, there were even more of them. In the beginning of the plan of the demon beasts, the human side was able to rely on Shunning City to defend the front line, which was all they could do. But when the war really started, they suddenly realized that things didn't seem to be so. The human side's regular army was defending the city wall of Shunning City to the death. Under the situation where there was no protection array, they could firmly restrict the demon beasts on the city wall and prevent them from advancing an inch. Even if the number of lives lost by both sides was astronomical, the demon beasts couldn't afford to delay. All kinds of mercenaries and demon slayers went out at night every day, crazily attacking the demon beasts that were alone. Although the other 6 dynasties stood on the opposite side of the Shinwu dynasty, their attitude towards the demon beasts was the same. They didn't want to see the demon beasts become stronger again. Therefore, although they were indifferent to this matter on the surface, in private, all kinds of demon slayers and mercenaries went to the Hengduan mountain range more and more frequently. Those demon kings who didn't participate in the crusade against the Shinwu dynasty had already reported this matter to the demon beast palace more than once. Compared to the Shinwu dynasty, which was fighting on all sides, the demon beast palace was fighting on all 7 fronts. Bai Lu gave a general introduction of the situation, and his face showed a dignified expression. He said in a deep voice, "We can't afford to delay more than the human side, so the Demon Beast Palace has urged us more than once to start the final battle quickly and strive to take down Shunning City and the nearby cities in one breath. In short, they want us to end the battle quickly." End the battle quickly. Lin Yuan's eyes showed a hint of contemplation. He couldn't figure out what the Demon Beast Palace wanted to do. After all, in his opinion, the Demon Beast Palace could be said to have profited greatly from this battle. However, there was always a bottom line. Once they broke through Shunning City, the Shinwu dynasty wouldn't be so passive towards the northern frontier anymore. At that time, all kinds of actions against the Demon Beast Palace would be more blatant, and it wouldn't be impossible for them to send their army into the Hengduan mountain range. With the Demon King Kirin scheming, there was no way he didn't think of this step, right? Could it be? Lin Yuan slowly murmured. Bai Lu, who noticed Lin Yuan's abnormality, was slightly startled. It was obvious that Lin Yuan had thought of something. Bai Lu couldn't help but lower his voice and ask, "What do you mean?" "Looks like this time, the Shinwu dynasty is planning to die and not bow down. I guess there might be some kind of treasure in the Shinwu dynasty's territory that has awakened, so that force came to ask for it. However, the Shinwu dynasty wasn't willing to hand it over, so the conflict between the two sides broke out. According to the current situation, the Shinwu dynasty's destruction is just a matter of time. There are only 2 possibilities for them to be stubborn like this. Either that treasure is about to mature, so the Shinwu dynasty plans to guard it to the death and use it as soon as it matures, completely cutting off the other party's thoughts. Or Lin Yuan's eyes became more and more serious. Chapter 264. Either the treasure has a limited time to ripen, and if we can't harvest it within that time, no one will be able to obtain it. Based on the current situation, this possibility is very high. After all, to be able to force the top powers to shed all pretense of cordiality and break the power structure of the Tianwu continent, this treasure must be extremely terrifying. If the Shinwu dynasty obtains this treasure, it might be possible for them to surpass the other party. Therefore, in the first case, the other party still has to consider the retaliation from the Shinwu dynasty in the future, so they won't give the Shinwu dynasty any chance of survival. However, if no one can obtain this treasure, the other party won't continue to pay such a huge price to wage an all-out war with the Shinwu dynasty. Although it will make the Shinwu dynasty suffer for a period of time, this matter can be considered to be over. Lin Yuan's voice slowly sounded out, and the seriousness in his eyes became more and more intense. Right now, the Monster Beast Palace was urging them to end the battle quickly. Could it be that they plan to use these external monster beasts to attract the Shinwu dynasty's troops to guard the treasure? Once the other party's troops were transferred, they would launch a strong attack and directly seize the treasure. The possibility of this method succeeding was very high, but to the external monster beasts of the Hengduan mountain range, it wasn't very good. The Shinwu dynasty had paid such a huge price, and if the treasure was still taken away in the end, how crazy would Lei Qiusheng, who would rather everyone not get anything than lower his head and admit defeat, become? He probably wouldn't even wait for the Shinwu dynasty to recover and would immediately take revenge on the powers that had targeted them. After the Shinwu dynasty suffered a heavy blow, they wouldn't be able to take revenge on the external monster beasts of the Hengduan mountain range. Wouldn't it be easy for them to take revenge on the external monster beasts? After thinking through the crux of the matter, Lin Yuan suddenly felt that his entire body was in a bad state. He seemed to have been inexplicably abandoned by the other party. However, Lin Yuan was also very curious. What kind of conditions did the other party offer to actually make the Beast King Kirin, who had always been protective of his own people, give up on the external monster beasts of the Hengduan mountain range? Then, aren't we abandoned? Bai Lu's eyes widened as he asked in disbelief. Initially, the white deer did not think of this. After all, the Beast Lord Kirin was famous for being protective of his own people. Although he was suspicious of the Monster King's constant urging for them to fight, he did not think too much about it. However, now that the Black Serpent had laid out the logic of the situation, even if the white deer did not want to believe it, it had to admit that it was the truth. Lin Yuan's eyes paused for a moment in the direction of Shunning City, and a smile appeared on his face. If the Shinwu dynasty really acted as the higher-ups expected, then the outer demon beasts would naturally be crazily retaliated by the Shinwu dynasty. However, what if the higher-ups' wishful thinking fell through? The Shinwu dynasty was not a mad dog that would bite anyone it saw. Tomorrow, we will start the final battle. Gather all the demon beasts that can fight and attack Shunning City. If I don't give the order to retreat, no one is allowed to step back. Do you understand? Lin Yuan's eyes rested on the faces of Bai Lu and King Kong. The two beast kings who had cooperated with Lin Yuan before nodded tacitly. After all, this black serpent, who was much more cunning than humans, dared to say so, which meant that it already had a plan in mind. At this time, they only needed to cooperate with the black serpent, and the rest would be up to the black serpent's arrangement. At the same time, in Shunning City, the 7 city lords of the border cities gathered together. The city lord of Shunning City narrowed his eyes slightly, and looked around at all the city lords in the meeting room, and said in a deep voice, "Other than the newcomer Little Lei, everyone is old friends. No matter how we get along on normal days, but at this time, we are the closest of comrades, so I will be frank with you." At this point, the city lord of Shunning City paused for a moment, and when everyone's attention was focused on him, he nodded with satisfaction and said in a clear voice, "This morning, I have met with the emissary sent by the imperial capital. He said that the demon beasts may launch a general attack on us at any time, but the imperial capital has no extra manpower and resources to support us. So, we can only rely on ourselves for the upcoming battle. If anyone has any good countermeasures, feel free to speak up." One of the city lords put his hands behind his head and said with a smile, "I am very curious, the imperial capital usually does not pay attention to our northern frontier. How is it that they are better informed than us? We don't even know when the demon beasts will launch a general attack, but the imperial capital knows? Is there someone playing some conspiracy behind our backs?" When he said this, the city lord's gaze fell on Lei Fan's face. Everyone knew the purpose of Lei Fan coming to the northern frontier. People like them who stayed near the Hengduan mountains all year round had an unresolvable hatred with the demon beasts. So, for people like Lei Fan who was friendly with the demon beasts, they all had resentment in their hearts. It's that thing. It's about to mature. The city lord of Shunning City sighed and said, "Those people can't wait any longer, but the war is very anxious. Only our side and the demon beasts have not gone all out, and both sides are still testing each other. So, the people over there, I guess they want to let the demon beasts break through our Shunning City, and then drive straight in, attracting the last forces of the imperial capital to quell the chaos." When his voice fell, the whole meeting room was silent, and almost everyone's gaze fell on the city lord of Shunning City. Gentlemen, our victory or defeat will not only determine the direction of this war, but also whether the Shinwu dynasty will rise or fall. I don't ask everyone to fight to the death in their posts, but I hope that everyone can clear their minds. We are all old officials of the Shinwu dynasty, and if the Shinwu dynasty falls, none of us will have a good time. When he said this, the city lord of Shunning City stood up from his seat and bowed to the front. Please. Lei Fan crossed his arms in front of his chest, squinted his eyes and said, the demon beasts have been suffering losses in our hands, but when the demon beasts really get angry, other than hiding, there is nothing we can do. Personally, I think it's better to stop all the hunting activities for the demon beasts, and rely on the protection of Shunning City to stall for time with the demon beasts. I don't agree. A city lord with the face of a thunder god stood up angrily and glared at Lei Fan as he said, Little brat, do you know how many men we have lost in the battle with the demonic beasts, and how many resources we have exhausted? You want us to stall for time with the demon beasts? Do you really think we can afford to fight? If we don't fight now, are we waiting for the demon beasts to come in and slaughter us when we are too hungry to fight with them? Chapter 265. City Lord Lei Gong was born in the military and had performed very well in all the operations against the Hengduan Mountains. He was also the only one among the 7 who had climbed from the commander of the garrison legion to the position of city lord. Therefore, his character had always been radical. Lei Fan's eyes turned slightly and stopped at city lord Lei Gong for a moment. Then, he said indifferently, Senior Huang, the best way to deal with it now is to rely on the defense of Shunning City. Once we leave Shunning City, all the advantages we have will be gone. I have calculated before that in all the battles between the garrison legion of the northern frontier city and the demonic beasts, the casualty rate is about 1/10. This time, the beast tide has mobilized all the demonic beasts in the periphery. The number of demonic beasts is not something we can compare with. If we give up our advantage in positional warfare and use our weakness to fight the demonic beasts, I am afraid the only outcome is death, and it will be faster than positional warfare. Speaking of this, Lei Fan spread his hands on the table and said in a deep voice, I am against taking the initiative to attack the demonic beasts. We must gather all the forces we have to besiege Shunning City. 3 days, at most 3 days, and the imperial capital will be able to send reinforcements to us. The city lord of Shunning City was moved, but he frowned and said, Our resources are indeed not enough to support such a large-scale army. If we gather all our men, we will not be able to hold on for 3 days. And I am afraid the demonic beasts are also aware of this. If they just surround us and don't attack. As his voice fell, the atmosphere in the meeting room suddenly became heavy. I have resources. And I am sure that the demonic beasts will launch a general attack soon. The corner of Lei Fan's mouth rose slightly. His eyes swept across everyone's face and said, Even if the demonic beasts don't attack, the resources in my hands can at least support you for half a month. Even if the demonic beasts don't attack, the reinforcements from the imperial capital will arrive in half a month. You have resources. Where did you get them? Another city lord opened his mouth. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he said in a deep voice, Everyone is trapped in Shunning City. Where did you get your resources? Don't tell me you've moved everything from Mountain Blocking City here. Lei Fan didn't reply but clapped his hands lightly. Immediately, a devil-masked man with a black cloak slowly appeared from the shadows behind Lei Fan and said indifferently, Other than military weapons and equipment, the Association of the Demon Emperor can provide all the resources that you want. The pupils of the other 6 city lords suddenly shrank. From the way the other party appeared, it didn't seem like they had just arrived. They had probably been lurking in this meeting room for quite some time. Not only had they heard the contents of their conversation, but if they had the intention to kill, they could at least take 1 or 2 of them with them. Thinking of this, the other 6 city lords' backs were covered in a layer of cold sweat. The city lord of Shunning City calmed himself down and reached out to wipe the cold sweat on his forehead. He said in a deep voice, Who doesn't know that the Demon Emperor has connections with the demonic beasts? I heard that the demonic beasts in the Hengduan Mountains are behind you. Now that the demonic beasts and humans are about to fight, the association of the Demon Emperor has come to deliver resources to us. Who knows what kind of intentions you have? The devil-masked man laughed and replied, "Your concern is indeed correct. But the fact is, if it weren't for the Demon Emperor's secret activities, Shunning City would have fallen into the enemy's hands. Since you don't believe me, then just pretend I didn't say anything. Goodbye." Wait. The city lord suddenly stopped the devil-masked man and said in a deep voice, "If there is no problem with the resources sent by the Association of the Demon Emperor, we are willing to buy them at a premium of 20%. Although the demonic beasts are behind you, you and I are both humans. I believe you and won't let you take the risk and suffer a loss again." As a military man, he still maintained his strategic qualities, so when the other city lords were still suspecting that there was a problem with the resources, he noticed another factor: the demonic beasts behind the Association of the Demon Emperor did not want the demonic beasts to win. In addition, he was not only willing to believe in the Association of the Demon Emperor, but he also hoped to maintain this cooperative relationship. After all, there were indeed many traitors among the humans. As long as they could get better resources, they would betray anything except themselves. But to find a traitor among the demonic beasts was too difficult. Even if the demonic beasts were not loyal to the Fire Kirin, they still hated the humans. What do you think? The devil-masked man paused for a moment and his eyes fell on the other 6 city lords. Lei Fan shrugged his shoulders and crossed his arms in front of his chest. The other 5 city lords were deep in thought, and in the end, the city lord of Shunning City made the final decision and said, "This is what we mean, and we hope that we can work together happily. As long as there is no problem with the resources sent by the Association of the Demon Emperor, we will definitely not let you suffer a loss in terms of price." Happy cooperation. The devil-masked man clearly had no intention of chatting with the city lords. He only pressed down on the mask on his face, turned around, and blended into the shadows again. The eyes under the mask sharpened, and a cold glint flashed in them. Not to mention the busy humans at the moment, let's talk about Lin Yuan's side. In the past 3 days, due to the Foxman warlord's outstanding command, Lin Yuan's plan had been declared a complete failure. Not only did it not further reduce the humans' living space, but it also made the humans feel a sense of crisis. They even directly abandoned the camp and joined forces with the defenders of Shunning City. Otherwise, how could the defenders of Shunning City resist the endless beast tide? In Lin Yuan's opinion, the most terrifying thing was that the Foxman warlord didn't have the slightest idea about the human army that was exposed in the wilderness. For the past 2 days, it had been arranging for the demon beasts to launch an attack on Shunning City. This behavior was tantamount to giving up its strengths and using its weaknesses to compete with the human army. If not for the fact that the Foxman warlord was personally appointed by the Demon Emperor and was the only son of a certain subhuman elder who had served the Hengduan Mountains for many years, Lin Yuan would have thought that the Foxman warlord actually had a double identity like himself and was deliberately sending monsters to their deaths. Black Snake, the monsters below are ready. King Kong's roar awakened Lin Yuan from his contemplation. Lin Yuan was silent for a moment. His heterochromatic eyes lit up again, and he said in a deep voice, "Let's go." Lin Yuan took the lead, and the group of beast kings followed closely behind. Behind them were the monsters on the outskirts of the Hengduan Mountains. The majestic group of monsters strode towards Shunning City. Their eyes were filled with ruthlessness, and when they looked in the direction of Shunning City, they became extremely cold. Chapter 266. 2 hours later. The Shifter Emperors Association had temporarily set up various strongholds in Shunning City to transport batches of goods and materials. The scribes of the city lord's mansion of Shunning City were calculating and estimating the goods. After both sides had completed the handover, the members of the Association of the Shifter Emperors slowly began to evacuate from the south gate of Shunning City. That was the passage that Lin Yuan had reserved for the members of the Association of the Shifter Emperor. As long as they left Shunning City within the time limit, they would not be blocked by the demonic beasts. Just in case, Lin Yuan had specially assigned by Lu and Jin Gang to be in charge of this area. Even if the other beast kings had other ideas, they would not be able to find a reason to interfere. The city lord of Shun Ning City crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at the Shifter Emperor's Association of the Shifter Emperor with burning eyes. The goods that the Association of the Shifter Emperor sold to them were far beyond their imagination. It was almost enough to sustain everyone in Shun Ning City for a month. If they were frugal, this period could be extended for another 5 to 8 days. It could be said that with such a batch of goods in hand, as long as they did not seek death, the demonic beasts would not be able to force them to the brink of death. Lei Fan took the opportunity to walk to the side of the city lord of Shun Ning City and asked, "What are you thinking about?" The city lord of Shun Ning City almost had the words "something on his mind" written on his face. To Lei Fan, this was no doubt the best opportunity to get closer to the real ruler of the northern frontier. Naturally, he would not let go of this opportunity. This existence that calls itself the Shifter Emperor is a very troublesome fellow. I have been thinking about this for a while. Is cooperating with it to get what we need or to drink poison to quench our thirst? The city lord of Shun Ning City sighed and squinted his eyes as he said, "Now, the Black Snake is most likely the Shifter Emperor. But I feel that such a powerful existence would not show itself so casually. Rather than saying that the Black Snake is the Shifter Emperor, it would be better to say that the real Shifter Emperor has been standing behind the Black Snake all this time, at a place that we cannot see, watching our every move." The words of the city lord of Shun Ning City immediately gave Lei Fan goosebumps. This question was also something that he had been thinking about recently. Was cooperating with the Black Snake a win-win situation, or was he drinking poison to quench his thirst? Lei Fan knew about many demonic beasts, but it was his first time seeing an existence like the Black Serpent. In the Hengduan Mountains, it could be said that the Black Serpent was vicious and merciless. It could even be said that the Black Serpent was like a warmonger, constantly clashing with other demonic beasts and absorbing nutrients from the war to become stronger. However, under such circumstances, the Black Serpent was able to perfectly fulfill its role as the king of beasts. After going through so many wars, the Stoneclaw Forest did not show any signs of weakening. Instead, it became stronger and stronger. Its territory grew bigger and bigger, and the number of demonic beasts increased. Back then, he came to the northern frontier full of ambition, intending to use the Black Snake as a springboard to return to the Hengduan mountain range to hunt. But now, he had fallen to the point where he had to rebuild Mountain Blocking City. Because of the sudden war, he did not even have the chance to rebuild Mountain Blocking City, and was directly chased away by the demon beasts to Shunning City to survive. However, he was happy to cooperate with the Black Snake. This contradictory feeling made Lei Fan's hair stand on end, and his face began to become cloudy and uncertain. This Black Snake seemed to be King poisonous. Dang 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 dang, a series of urgent alarms suddenly rang out. Lei Fan and the city lord of Shunning City raised their heads at the same time, and said with a face full of horror, "Has it begun? Isn't this association of demon emperors a little too extreme?" Originally, they thought that the members of the Association of Demon Emperors would leave before the demon beasts began to attack Shunning City. But who would have thought that not long after the members of the Association of Demon Emperors left Shunning City, the demon beasts would directly attack? Although Shunning City was a city with only 2 city walls, in theory, as long as one left from the southern city gate, it would be safe. If one went deeper, it would be the territory of humans. Although all the garrisons in the surrounding areas had been transferred to Shunning City, there were still forces like the Mercenary Union, Demon Slayer Union, Merchant Union, and so on. If ordinary demon beasts went there, they would definitely not be able to get away. But even if the demon beasts did not go deep, it did not mean that they would leave a way out for the humans. The flying demon beasts could directly cross over Shunning City to the wilderness in the south to surround and kill the escaping humans. Before the war was completely over, any escapees would be regarded as a hunting target. The reason why the Association of Demon Emperors was said to be extreme was because if they were a little slower, the Association of Demon Emperors would have left the city 3 minutes later and become a live target for the flying demon beasts. But now, It was different. The association of demon emperors had left at the right time. After the firepower on the city walls was attracted, when the flying demon beasts crossed over Shunning City, it was estimated that the cavalry of the Association of Demon Emperors would already be out of the flying demon beasts' attack range. This sort of timing was just too ingenious, and it even made Lei Fan and the others think that the demon emperor would send them resources without any prior discussion with the demonic beasts, and it was completely a spontaneous action by them as humans. In an instant, many people's attitudes towards the Demon Emperor's conference changed quite a bit. Let's fight first. City Lord Lei Gong walked towards the city walls with a solemn face and said in a clear voice, "These demon beasts are like cockroaches, dauntlessly rushing in front of you. If you can't kill them all in one breath, then the number of demon beasts gathering will increase and the speed of them gathering will also increase." Although the demon beasts did not like to bully the weak and fear the strong, but it was a biological instinct to avoid danger. If the first wave of attack of the demon beasts was defeated in an instant, then the demon beasts behind would have to think twice before rushing forward. If they wanted to have a chance to breathe, they had to directly kill the demon beasts. It was best to disperse them in one round. Otherwise, once they were held back by the demon beasts, not only would the humans' physical strength be unable to keep up with the demon beasts, even their numbers would be reduced. So once the two sides fought a tug of war, it was only a matter of time before the city walls fell. Although the humans were better at fighting in the streets, if they lost the first line of defense in the first round, even if they could ignore the problem of morale, there would be a buffer zone between the two sides. There would not even be a place for the soldiers to rest. Even if they were to hide in the houses, they would have to guard against the demon beasts charging in at any time. Arrange for the evacuation of the civilians. Organize people to forcefully demolish the houses. Move the separated building materials to the city walls to supplement the temporary defense equipment. The city lord residents of Shunning City had experienced many similar incidents, so the speed of giving out orders was very fast. At the same time, he was also walking towards the city walls. No matter what, as the city lord, he was personally going to the front line, which was a great boost to the morale of the soldiers. Chapter 267. Flying Demonic Beasts. A commoner who was passing by was suddenly grabbed by a green-feathered eagle and torn to shreds. Blood rained down like rain. Witnessing this scene with his own eyes, Lei Fan's face was filled with shock, and even showed signs of being in a trance. This was the first time he had seen such a tragic scene. Even in the war with the other dynasties, as long as they hid within the city and the soldiers did not give up on resisting, the commoners were absolutely safe. But at this moment, the scene that Lei Fan saw had completely overturned his understanding of the world. The battle at the front lines had not even begun and a fresh life had been lost right in front of his eyes. In the time that Lei Fan was in a trance, the flying demonic beasts swooped down one after another, reaping hundreds of lives in an instant. Not only did these feathered beasts not leave, they even circled above the heads of the crowd, making squawking squawk 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 sounds, as if they were mocking the stupidity of these humans. After a short moment of trance, Lei Fan let out a low growl, the true qi in his body rumbling like thunder. He threw out the war saber in his hand, and a large yellow bird that had just swooped down was split into two by the war saber. Immediately, under the control of true qi, the war saber spun and flew back into Lei Fan's hand. The moment he touched the blood of the demonic beasts on the hilt of the saber, Lei Fan could even feel the warmth of the blood. "Get a few men here, follow me to kill these flying demonic beasts. Qilin, get Zhongxing to bring some men to occupy the high ground within the city and kill these feathered beasts." Lei Fan's voice was loud and clear. A pair of sharp eyes fell upon the bodies of the flying demonic beasts in the sky, his bloodshot eyes filled with hatred. Adjutant Zhang nodded his head heavily and brought 2 guards with him as he ran towards the direction of the army camp. At the same time, outside Shunning City, Lin Yuan was coiled up on his snake body, sizing up the charging demonic beasts, the expression on his face unchanged from the beginning. In the end, the human side had incomparably sophisticated defensive equipment. Whether it was catapults or ballistae, a single shot from them could instantly cause a large number of casualties. The two sides hadn't even started fighting yet, but the side of the demonic beasts had already been torn apart. However, although the humans' defensive equipment was powerful, the speed at which they were reloading was not something to be complimented on. After a few rounds of firing, nearly 1/7 of the demonic beasts were killed. However, the defensive equipment on the city wall was completely out of action. From time to time, they would pour a basin of hot oil or throw a stone to attack the demonic beasts that came into contact with the city wall. However, they were unable to stop the demonic beasts from climbing up through the gaps between the city wall. Are we really going to lose this battle? King Kong stood beside Lin Yuan with his arms crossed and whispered to Lin Yuan. The resistance from the human side was not as fierce as it had imagined. Just now, it saw its flying demon beasts flying around Shunning City without being noticed by any human warriors. It was not until it gave the order to attack that these human warriors realized that there were also Grim Reapers above their heads. Losing 1/7 of the demonic beasts to come into contact with the city wall was already a great achievement for the demonic beasts. After all, the Black Snake's ferocious reputation was here. Ordinary demonic beasts simply did not have the courage to disobey Lin Yuan. Therefore, before Lin Yuan gave the order to retreat, these demonic beasts could only bite the bullet and charge forward. Otherwise, what awaited them would be a punishment more painful than death. Under such momentum, King Kong even felt that as long as the demonic beasts put in a little more effort, they would be able to take down the city wall directly. Lin Yuan flicked his tongue, and the image of Shunning City was formed in his mind. The image of Shunning City was perfectly formed in his mind. Until now, Lin Yuan shook his head and said in a deep voice, "Do you think the humans are really dumb? They just saw that the first echelon we sent out was just a group of cannon fodder, so they are too lazy to fight with them seriously. The real big guys on the human side have not shown up yet." In the image of Shunning City, at least 70% of the defense equipment on the human side had not been used yet. They were waiting for the demonic beasts to throw in their main forces, so that they could catch the demonic beasts off guard. However, this kind of trick was useless in front of Lin Yuan, not to mention deceiving him. Then now King Kong squinted his eyes and glanced at the city wall of Shunning City, and said coldly, "Just let it go. Give up the cannon fodder in front and maintain peace with the humans for a day." "No." Lin Yuan shook his head, and his heterochromatic eyes flashed with a touch of coldness. He said indifferently, "The humans want to lure our main forces to survive, so we might as well satisfy them this time. Inform your trusted subordinates to stay put, and send the rest of the main forces to attack the city. Pay attention to the strength, and don't really break through the humans' defense line." Conquering Shunning City would not benefit Lin Yuan at all, and it might even make him an abandoned pawn of the demonic beast palace. Therefore, even if Lin Yuan had to break his invincible golden body, he would not attack Shunning City at this time. However, his troops must suffer heavy losses, or the demonic beast palace would definitely continue to urge him to attack Shunning City. Therefore, for Lin Yuan, the best situation now was to lose more than half of his elite troops. In this way, not only could he ensure that he could continue to besiege Shunning City, but he could also ensure that Shunning City was still in a stalemate with him, but he would not have the strength to attack Shunning City again. "Okay, I will do it." King Kong nodded, and just when he was about to leave, Lin Yuan wrapped his leg with his snake tail. King Kong stopped and stared at Lin Yuan with a confused face. He almost squeezed out 3 question marks from his head. "I am just telling you the next step, but I don't want you to take the initiative to ask them to go to war. After you leave, the demonic beast kings will naturally find you and ask me what I mean. You can tell them that I am more conservative, and that today is only the first day, and that we should test each other's strength before talking about other things. This way, they will beg you, and let you persuade me to attack Shunning City. After all, most of them have conflicts with me. At this time, if they listen to my orders, they may be played to death by me on the battlefield. So as long as this war can end early, they are willing to do anything, and are willing to take any risks. In this way, we can also get out of trouble. Lin Yuan's voice had a slight trace of ridicule. When his eyes fell on King Kong could not help but shiver. Too vicious. Really too vicious. Chapter 268. If those beast kings really wanted to end the war quickly, they would certainly ask King Kong to persuade Lin Yuan to dispatch the second echelon or the main force to attack Shunning City as soon as possible. At that time, Lin Yuan would reluctantly agree to this matter. After they suffered a loss from the humans, even if they wanted to blame someone, they would not blame Lin Yuan. I, Black Snake, have always had a conservative attitude and planned to wait and see. A group of beast kings came to me and asked me to dispatch troops to attack. How can I not comply with you? After all, I am not an immortal. It is impossible for me to have a flawless plan. I also do not think that my strategic vision is better than all the beast kings in the Hengduan Mountains. Am I right, brothers? I, Black Snake, am an honest person. Walking in the Hengduan Mountains is all about loyalty, righteousness, courage, and trust. Looking at King Kong's hesitant eyes, Lin Yuan loosened the snake tail wrapped around King Kong's calf and said indifferently, I didn't force them to die. Didn't I give them the choice? If they believe me and think that I won't do such a despicable thing, they naturally won't clamor to end this war as soon as possible. Naturally, they won't have to die. At this point, Lin Yuan paused and said with gloomy eyes, there is a good saying in Buddhism that if there is Buddha in your heart, you can see that all things are Buddha. If these beast kings think that I am despicable, it can only mean that they are vicious. If I don't get rid of such existences as soon as possible, should I wait for them to plot against me? King Kong was silent. He felt that Lin Yuan's words had a hidden meaning, but he could not find anything to refute Lin Yuan. In the end, King Kong could only shrug his shoulders, indicating that he did not want to offend such a terrifying existence as the black snake in his life. This black snake not only progressed at a strange speed, but also had a cunning mind and keen reactions, which were more terrifying than humans. As far as King Kong knew, no matter if it was a demon beast or a human, as long as they went against this black snake, they would not have a good ending. Chirp! An apricot yellow skylark drilled out of the clouds and landed on King Kong's shoulder, letting out a crisp chirp. However, King Kong's face turned gloomy in an instant. He said coldly, Black Snake, almost all of my aerial demonic beasts have been annihilated. Nearly 60% of them were killed in the ambush of the liaisons between the strongholds in Shunning City. The remaining 20% are now missing. They have completely become a defeated army. Although the number of flying beasts under King Kong's command was not many, all of them were elites. If they were taken out alone, almost all of them could take charge alone. Losing one of them would make King Kong's heart ache. Now that the news of nearly 80% of them being lost came, King Kong almost couldn't suppress the anger in his heart. Let your subordinates return to the camp to rest first. This is a bad thing for you, but it's also a good thing. Although you won't be able to cultivate another powerful flying beast army in a short period of time, those big shots in the beast palace won't pick on you anymore. Lin Yuan wriggled his snake body and slowly walked out of the camp. His multicolored eyes flashed with a dangerous light. Shunning City, North Gate Tower, Temporary Command Center. Lei Fan led Li Zhongsheng and Zhang Qilin into the command center. They just happened to see the Thunder Lord City Lord and the Shunning City Lord discussing battle tactics in front of a war sand table. The Thunder Lord City Lord crossed his arms and said in a heavy tone, although I don't know why, but the attack of the demonic beasts today is indeed evil. If it was in the past, when the demonic beasts touched the city wall so quickly, the demonic beasts behind would definitely be excited and rush up dauntlessly. Our city defense equipment would also be able to give them a hard time. But today, almost a third of the first batch of demonic beasts have been killed by us, and the demonic beasts behind have not made any move at all. Shun Ning City's City Lord also nodded slightly and said, it seems that the Monster Beast Palace has made a follow-up move. The fox-human commander who only knew how to charge forward like a child should have been replaced. The guy who is commanding the demonic beasts to fight with us is a little shrewd. Speaking up to hear, he was silent for a moment. Then he narrowed his eyes and said, "Why don't we release the remaining city defense equipment first? Although these demonic beasts climbing the city wall are just cannon fodder, but in close combat, they are still a threat to our warriors." Just as the two of them were discussing up to this point, Lei Fan happened to stride into the temporary command center. His gaze paused on the sand table for a moment before he said in a deep voice, "I do not agree with the release of the defensive armaments now. Have the two city lords forgotten where we got our supplies from? Now that the demonic beasts have changed their commanding style, you can think of it as the other party being shrewd and not willing to suffer a loss. Can you also think of it as the other party giving us time to slaughter these low-level demonic beasts?" Others might not be able to see who was commanding the demonic beasts outside the city, but Lei Fan, who had been in close contact with the Black Snake during this period of time, would definitely know. After all, there were not many demonic beasts who knew how to use tactics. In this battlefield, only the Black Snake knew how to gather the low-level demonic beasts to charge and attract the firepower of the human defense equipment to the main force. But with the Black Snake's style, organizing a group of low-level demonic beasts to attack the city was just a means. If it really wanted to attack Shun Ning City, it would not have done it so simply. At the very least, it would have placed some high-level demonic beasts among this group of low-level demonic beasts and used the aura of the low-level demonic beasts to cover them. When they started to climb the city wall, it would suddenly attack and directly destroy part of the city defense equipment. Then, the main force would swarm in and easily gain the upper hand, or even directly seize the city wall. But the Black Snake did not do that. So, Lei Fan could be sure that the Black Snake had gotten the news of that thing from somewhere and started this battle under the urging of the demonic beast palace. It was just that the Black Snake did not seem to want to win, so it first sent the demonic beast emperor to deliver supplies to them. Then, it began to send the demonic beasts under its command to die. It wanted to use these demonic beasts to pay a heavy price to shut the mouth of the demonic beast palace. If that's the case. A glimmer of light appeared in the eyes of the city lord, and he said with a smile, "The guy commanding these demonic beasts does not want to win, so he deliberately sent the demonic beasts to die." Lei Fan nodded, his eyes showing a touch of seriousness, and he said in a deep voice, "I have dealt with it a few times. Every time, I could not see what it was thinking, and it might even do some very stupid things. But it is undeniable that it was the one who benefited every time. Otherwise, its strength would not have grown at such a terrifying speed." Chapter 269. Even if the other party sent the monsters here to die, the battlefield is constantly changing. Maybe the other party's command will be transferred to other monsters, and maybe they will change their mind. The mayor of Shunning City hit the nail on the head and said coldly, "Maybe they don't want to win now because they are worried that the Shinwu dynasty will take revenge on the monsters in the periphery of the Hengduan Mountains. But what if we can't? What if our revenge is not worth mentioning compared to the benefits offered by the Monster King Palace?" Everyone in the temporary command center was silent. Seeing that everyone's will was somewhat affected, the mayor of Shunning City smiled and said, "I just hope that you don't bet all your treasures on the other party. On the bright side, we are still on the same side as the other party. We have enough living materials in our hands. As long as we kill the monsters before the other party goes back on his words, it will be too late even if the other party turns hostile." About 15 minutes later, 2/3 of the monsters that rushed up the city wall had been killed. Before the humans could take a breath, a large group of ferocious monsters rushed out from the monsters' side, and their momentum was obviously much stronger than the previous cannon fodder. More importantly, most of the humans were entangled by the cannon fodder monsters at the moment, and they couldn't spare a hand to deal with the second group of monsters. Therefore, in the eyes of the charging monsters, they seemed to have seen the dawn of victory. Boom! 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 Another roar of artillery fire sounded. The demonic beasts that had just charged did not even have time to react. When more than half of them rushed into the area covered by the human artillery, they heard a roar in their ears. In an instant, nearly 1/3 of the demonic beasts were directly blasted into meat paste. The sky was full of demonic beasts' limbs flying everywhere. The scene was extremely disgusting. This round of artillery fire was much fiercer than the first round. The monsters didn't expect that the humans didn't go all out in the first round at all, as if they were waiting for them. At this time, for these monster kings who volunteered to fight, it was like a dumb person eating Chinese medicine. They couldn't say anything. They asked King Kong and Bai Lu to persuade Black Snake to agree with their plan. Firstly, they wanted to end the war as soon as possible. Secondly, they wanted to rush into Shunning City and plunder the human resources. In this border city, any shop belonging to the merchant union could be described as rich. However, the scene before them had shattered their illusions. If they continued to walk forward, they would be faced with the humans' artillery and cold weapons. If he retreated, he would face the wrath and punishment of the Black Snake. Before the start of the battle, the Black Snake had already said that once they set foot on the battlefield, no one was allowed to retreat without its orders. During the first round of attacks, some flying demonic beasts that had sneaked back to the camp were caught by the Black Snake as an example to the public. Now, the skinned corpses were still hanging near the camp to deter the demonic beasts. One of the beast kings turned around with a hateful expression and happened to see the black serpent coiled up outside the camp. Its heterochromatic eyes were fixed on it, and the ridicule in its eyes was not concealed at all. For example, King Kong, Bai Lu, and some other beast kings who had no conflict with the black serpent and thus remained neutral and did not participate in the battle gathered together. At this moment, they did not conceal their gloating expressions. Kill. Rush up the city wall and seize control of the city wall from the humans. A demonic beast at the 8th level of Wisdom Realm let out a roar and took the lead to rush out. It was impossible to retreat now. If they continued to stay here, they would only be waiting for the humans to reload and bombard them with the next round of artillery fire. Therefore, if they wanted to break this deadlock, they could only choose to fight with their lives on the line. The demonic beasts were decisive, but the humans' reaction wasn't slow either. After the artillery, ballistae, and other defensive weapons were used up, a large group of soldiers holding crossbows appeared in the areas of the city wall that hadn't been attacked by the demonic beasts. They began to shoot at the demonic beasts. Although most of these crossbow bolts couldn't penetrate the shells of the demonic beasts, once there were enough of them, there would be a pleasant surprise. For example, if the bolts hit the eyes of the demonic beasts, they could still cause effective damage. The most vicious were the crossbows that were aimed at the demonic beasts as they approached the city wall. Even level 5 Wisdom Realm demonic beasts would have to take 2 steps back with red faces after being hit by the crossbow bolts. The shells of level 5 Wisdom Realm demonic beasts couldn't block the bolts at all. As for Spirit Awakening Realm demonic beasts, no matter what level they were at, as long as they were hit by the crossbow bolts, their bodies would immediately be pierced. If they were hit in a vital spot, they would die on the spot. As expected of the number 1 pass on the northern frontier. There was a flash of shock in Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes. The first round was a blanket attack from the ballistae and artillery. Then the arrows were used to slow down the demonic beast's charge. When the demonic beasts got close to the city wall, there would be even more fatal crossbows. Although the follow-up strategy hadn't been used yet, Lin Yuan could clearly see through his sense of smell that large boulders were being transported to the city wall. Pots of boiling oil were boiling, and the first batch of demonic beasts had been killed by the humans. It wouldn't be long before the humans came out to deal with the demonic beasts that had just arrived. Are we still not going? Bai Lu narrowed his eyes and asked with some doubt. In the face of the human strategy of defending the city, if they were also fighting against humans, they could naturally play all kinds of tricks to deal with it. However, they were only facing a group of demon beasts who only knew how to fight recklessly. They could easily bring the demon beasts into their own rhythm and then play them to death one by one. In the past, when faced with such a strategy, the demon beasts could only brace themselves and charge forward. Either they died, or the humans died. There was no other choice at all. However, for Lin Yuan, there were countless ways to deal with this kind of common defense strategy in the military books of his previous life. With the demonic beast's various innate abilities, it wasn't difficult for him to break through the humans' defense line. However, he still didn't want to win this battle. After all, there was no benefit to winning, and there was no harm to losing. Why should he force himself to work for the humans? As for his goal of being noticed by the higher-ups, he had already accomplished it the moment he killed Fire Kirin. Whether or not Beast Lord Kirin suspected that he was the demonic emperor, he would find time to privately contact him. Chapter 270. Lord Black Snake, there's a lord from the demonic beast imperial court at the back of the camp. He specifically asked to see you. A golden-furred monkey demon appeared in front of Lin Yuan. His fur-covered face flickered with excitement. A lord from the demonic beast imperial court. A hint of surprise flashed through Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes. Logically speaking, the news of him killing the Foxman warlord shouldn't have spread so quickly. Even if some of the demonic beast kings who didn't like Lin Yuan had spread the news, the time it took for them to travel from the demonic beast imperial court to here was far from enough for them to make a round trip. Could it be that the demonic beast imperial court was worried about the Foxman warlord, so they sent another stabilizing force? Bring me over. Lin Yuan nodded and smiled kindly at the monkey demon. When the two demonic beasts arrived at the back of the camp, an overwhelming pressure directly attacked them. Lin Yuan's pair of heterochromatic eyes suddenly flashed with a touch of surprise, but before he had time to speak, he was directly pressed to the ground by the other party's pressure, as if he was a subject kowtowing like a king. As for the golden-furred monkey demon, it fainted the moment the other party's aura erupted. Black Snake, I heard that you're the demonic beast emperor. A dignified voice rang out. Lin Yuan's eyes suddenly shrank, revealing an expression of disbelief. Dragon head, moose body, oxtail, horse hooves, apart from the fact that the scales of the demonic beast emperor in front of him were cyan and dark green, there wasn't much difference between him and a Kirin. Clearly, this was also a Kirin. In the Hengduan mountain range, there was only one Kirin that could come from the demonic beast imperial court. Thus, the identity of the demonic beast in front of him was as clear as day. The moment Lin Yuan lowered his head, his thoughts flew like lightning. However, his multicolored eyes didn't reveal the slightest bit of emotion. You think you can muddle through without speaking? Beast Master Kirin sneered and said in a deep voice, it seems that you're not the demonic beast emperor. At most, you're a puppet pushed out by the demonic beast emperor. Black Snake, I can give you a chance. Tell me who the demonic beast emperor behind you is, and I can guarantee you a good position in the demonic beast imperial court. Even if you can't break through for the rest of your life, you'll still be safe and sound. Who dash, Lin Yuan let out a long sigh and chuckled, Lord Beast Lord must be joking. I just didn't expect that I would trouble Lord Beast Lord to make a trip personally for such a trivial matter. As for whether I am the demon god or not, and whether I have a demon god behind me, I don't care. This seems to be my private matter. There's no need to report it to the Beast Master, right? Lin Yuan didn't think that the two words demonic beast emperor would be so important to Beast Master Kirin. He only heard that Beast Master Kirin was a demonic beast emperor, and after organizing the Demonic Beast Emperor Association to participate in the mission to kill Fire Kirin, he actually made a trip personally. Currently, Beast Master Kirin's attitude towards the demonic beast emperor was still uncertain. Therefore, Lin Yuan couldn't rashly admit that he was the demonic beast emperor. In this situation where Beast Master Kirin treated him as a puppet of the demonic beast emperor, the more he put the title of demonic beast emperor on himself, the less likely Beast Master Kirin would think that he was the demonic beast emperor. With Kirin's status, a small puppet wasn't worth it. This way, he could ensure his own safety. Black Snake, don't play this game. If you can mobilize the Demonic Beast Emperor Association, it means that your relationship with the Demonic Beast Emperor is much closer than I thought. I didn't come here today to find trouble with you. I just have a message for you. Or you can pass it on to the real demonic beast emperor. At this point, Beast Master Kirin clearly became serious. He said in a deep voice, "It doesn't matter if it's a beast master or a demonic beast emperor. There can only be one ruler in the Hengduan mountain range. Of course, I have to admit that I'm already old. Now, with each passing day, I can feel my body's functions deteriorating. With each passing day, my demonic power is constantly weakening. Therefore, I no longer have the drive to make progress like I did when I was young. I only want to protect the Hengduan mountain range and leave behind a land for the demonic beast clan to continue to thrive." Lin Yuan didn't interrupt Kirin's speech. He looked at him thoughtfully. "Black Snake, you're very good. You have the same demeanor as I did when I was young. You didn't think of hiding under my protection. The Shinwu dynasty was like a nail that was nailed into the Hengduan mountain range. The 7 cities outside the Hengduan mountain range were destroyed by you. Therefore, I came here to say these words to you. Whether you're the demonic beast emperor or not, in my opinion, you're a suitable candidate. If there comes a day when I can no longer fight, I hope that you can become the new beast master and raise the flag of the Hengduan mountain range. I don't ask you to lead the demonic beast clan back to its former glory. I only hope that you can ensure that the demonic beast clan can continue to thrive and not be driven to extinction by humans. Of course, you don't have the qualifications now. Therefore, I will give you time to grow. In 2 years, I will come to find you again. If you still don't meet my standards, I will kill you first and then uproot your demonic beast emperor association." Kirin, the beast master, had a ferocious look in his eyes as he stared at Lin Yuan. Just like what Kirin told Lin Yuan before, the beast master, Kirin's generation was the most outstanding in the Hengduan mountain range in recent years. They were even able to suppress the 7 dynasties. If it wasn't for the beast master, Kirin's intervention, the remaining members of the Jiao clan would have been exterminated by Lei Qiusheng. They would not have become the demonic beast emperor association's biggest opponent in the underworld of the Shinwu dynasty. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the initial recognition of the beast master, Kirin. Triggered special mission, Beast Master's recognition. Mission description: you have now grown into one of the top demonic beasts of the younger generation in the Hengduan mountain range. Regardless of your means or temperament, you are far superior to other demonic beasts of the same generation. Therefore, the Beast Master, Kirin, has listed you as one of the successors of the Hengduan mountain range. The only thing that you do not meet the criteria of the Beast Master, Kirin, is that your cultivation level is too low. Please be sure to grow into a demonic beast that will impress the Beast Master, Kirin, within 2 years. Mission reward, unknown. Punishment for failure, death. Lin Yuan had no doubts about the punishment for failure. After all, there could only be one Beast Master of the Hengduan mountain range. The chaos caused by the fire Kirin back then had become an eternal scar in the Hengduan mountain range. The Beast Master, Kirin, would never allow something like that to happen again. Therefore, he would observe all the successors until he chose the most suitable one. As for the other successors, they would either submit to the new Beast Master obediently or wait for the Beast Master, Kirin, to purge them. Among the successors, the most unstable one was Lin Yuan, the demonic beast emperor. Therefore, he had no right to choose. He could either become the next Beast Master or be purged directly. Chapter 271. The Beast Master Qilin narrowed his eyes and suddenly smiled. It seems that I don't need to remind you. Your thoughts are indeed very clear. You know that if you win this battle, you will have to pay a heavy price. Not bad, let's fight like this. In that instant, the Beast Master Qilin had already sensed the changes in the battlefield ahead. Seeing Lin Yuan's confused face, Kirin smiled and said, "It's just an old friend's request, so I can't refuse. But friends are friends, and we have to be clear about business and personal matters. Being able to take down the 6 border cities is already a pleasant surprise. I didn't come here just to see you, the shifter emperor, but also to— Kiran's eyes suddenly turned gloomy, and he said coldly, to see who is so impatient to cause trouble. After all, I'm not dead yet. The monster beast imperial court had repeatedly urged them to start a decisive battle with the humans. Was it actually not the beast lord Qilan's idea? Lin Yuan's eyes also became serious. He always thought that there was something wrong with the monster king court, but he didn't expect it to be this big. The lord of the inferno beasts seemed to be hiding in the monster king court, and his power seemed to be quite strong. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to suppress the Green Swamp clan. Also, the power behind the Fire Kirin seemed to want to take control of the Hengduan Mountains. If they could send a Fire Kirin to shake Kirin's rule, then there was no way they didn't have control over the Monster King Court. Lin Yuan wasn't sure if the people urging him to fight the humans were the power behind the Fire Kirin. If they weren't together, then there would be a lot of trouble. However, this problem was a bit tricky for Kirin, but if Lin Yuan was the Beast King, then he would have a lot of power. He wouldn't be able to plant a traitor under his command. I'll take my leave first. There's a lot of information I can get from wandering around. Kirin smiled, then he retracted his aura and slowly retreated into the shadows. After Beast Lord Kirin left, Lin Yuan let out a long sigh and turned to look in the direction of Shunning City. Previously, he was a little worried about the attitude of the King of Monsters if they really lost this war. But now, it seemed that the King of Monsters' internal problems had not been solved yet, and he still had the support of the King of Monsters, Kirin. When the King of Monsters reached out their claws to him, he would just chop them up and be done with it. When he returned to the camp, King Kong and Bai Lu immediately surrounded him with a questioning look in their eyes. It's fine. Give the order to retreat. Lin Yuan coiled up and gave the order expressionlessly. Question marks appeared in the heads of the Beast Kings. The second batch of mystical beasts had already reached the top of the city wall. They had already begun slaughtering the human archers and destroying the city's defensive equipment. If they sent out the third batch, they would be able to easily take over the city wall. They would force the humans to engage in a street battle with them and tip the scales of victory in their favor. But now, the first thing he said was to retreat. What was the meaning of this? Just F***King Act. Master Black Snake, a Beast King licked his lips and took the initiative to take a step forward. He wanted to change Lin Yuan's decision. But what he got in response was Lin Yuan's indifferent eyes and cold words. Anyway, I have already given the order. I don't care if you follow it or not. If you think that you can take over the city wall now, do as you please. But before you set out, you have to think clearly about what will happen to you if you back out halfway. As soon as his voice fell, the whole crowd was silent. Now, those mystical beasts who were fighting with the humans on the city wall did not listen to the Black Snake's order and forced themselves to fight with the humans. As a result, they were trapped in the enemy's camp and could only continue to charge forward. They did not even doubt that if they rushed forward and were held back by the humans, the Black Snake would not hesitate to abandon them. So even if they knew that they had an 80% chance of taking over the city wall, none of them moved. After all, those mystical beasts who were still fighting with the humans thought so too. Lin Yuan did not know whether the humans still had a trump card or not. But now, with the Beast King Kirin's order, even if Lin Yuan was acting, the mystical Beast King could not do anything to him. Or perhaps, the Beast King Kirin wanted the mystical Beast King to find trouble with Lin Yuan. When the time came, he would see how many people were adding fuel to the fire behind the scenes. The Beast King Kirin would then be able to see who was the traitor. At the same time, Shunning City Wall. The Thunder God City Lord looked at the mystical Beast King's camp that did not move for a long time. Even if the commander of these mystical beasts was really a traitor, he would not act to this extent, right? Was he not worried that the mystical Beast King would hold him responsible at all? At this moment, a huge blue eagle slowly rose from the mystical Beast King's camp. It opened its beak and cried out 3 times in a row. Only then did the city lord's face reveal a solemn expression. It's here. The mystical beasts would not let them go so easily. The blue eagle flew up to release some kind of signal. Could it be that the mystical beasts wanted to send their entire army to defeat them in one go? The Thunder God's city lord held the signal flare in his hand with a nervous expression. In order to ensure that everyone had enough rest, except for the guards of Shun Ning City, the guards of the other cities had a rotation system. But releasing this signal flare meant that the front line could not hold on any longer. The other city lords would have to send their subordinates to support them. Originally, they thought that they would have to hold on for at least 3 days. After 3 days, the reinforcements from the imperial capital would arrive. The mystical beasts would have no choice but to disperse. So, if they started a decisive battle at this time, they would be at a disadvantage. But after the Blue Eagle returned to the Mystical Beast King's camp, there was no movement from the Mystical Beast King's camp. It was as if the Blue Eagle was just released to scare them. The mystical beasts that were fighting on the city wall were at a loss at this moment. It was as if they did not believe the signal they had just received. But soon, some of the smarter mystical beasts reacted. They directly gave up on their opponents and rushed to the Mystical Beast King's camp. Looking at the Mystical Beast King's camp, they knew that the Black Serpent would definitely not support them. So, as long as the humans chased after them, they would definitely suffer heavy losses. At this time, the only ones who could be used to bring up the rear were their comrades who fought side by side. In this kind of meat grinder, whoever ran slower would die. Chapter 272. Night. Lin Yuan woke up the sleeping beast kings one by one. In this war, humans were obviously at an absolute disadvantage, so the demon beasts didn't think that humans would come and attack them. Other than some nocturnal demon beasts that were still near the camp, the rest of the demon beasts were sleeping soundly. Being suddenly disturbed from their sleep, many demon beasts immediately showed an impatient look. But when they saw the smiling Black Snake in front of them, they immediately restrained their emotions and followed Black Snake like obedient babies to wake up the next Beast King. About 15 minutes later, all the Beast Kings gathered in the center of the camp. Even their trusted subordinates followed. After all, no one knew what the Black Snake was up to in the middle of the night. Therefore, they all stared at the Black Snake with vigilance, afraid that the Black Snake would suddenly attack. Everyone, let's attack at night. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with excitement. In an instant, all the Beast Kings in the camp showed a speechless look. It could have won the battle during the day, but it did not fight, and in the middle of the night, it dragged them to attack the camp? Did this Black Snake have nothing better to do? Master Black Snake, a night attack is a good idea. After all, the humans have been fighting with us for an entire day. I guess they are all exhausted, but you have to consider our situation, right? Our main army has also been fighting a bloody battle for an entire day. Even if you are not tired, we are. A Beast King that participated in the attack on Shunning City during the day snorted twice and directly sang a different tune. Although the other Beast Kings did not express their opinions, the Beast Kings that were tricked during the day all tacitly stood behind the Beast King that took the initiative to talk back to Black Snake. Although there were not many of them who had the courage to come out and take the lead, it was not so difficult for them to express their opinions after having a leader. You don't want to go? Fine, then you don't have to go. Lin Yuan did not continue to pester them. His eyes swept across the Beast Kings' faces one by one, and a touch of ridicule flashed across his eyes. The Beast Kings were also stunned. They didn't expect the Black Serpent to be so easy to talk to at this time. The Black Serpent didn't even fly into a rage out of humiliation like they had imagined. The Black Serpent simply brushed this matter aside. Those who are willing to attack Shunning City at night, follow me. Lin Yuan looked around at the surrounding Beast Kings, then took the initiative to walk in the direction of Shunning City. Along the way, all the Beast Kings tactfully opened up a path for Lin Yuan. However, there were very few Beast Kings who gathered their subordinates to follow behind the Black Snake. Not only were humans unwilling to engage in a bloody battle with demonic beasts were the same. If it were in demonic beasts forest or Hengduan mountains, demonic beasts could easily deal with the attacks of several beast kings of the same level. However, near human cities, demonic beasts' mobility was greatly limited. They had almost no advantages except for their strong physique. Therefore, in the battle between demonic beasts and humans, although demonic beasts were always the stronger party, humans were the ones who won most of the time. Bailu, King Kong, and 3 or 4 beast kings led their subordinates and followed behind Lin Yuan, quietly approaching the direction of Shunning City. Every time they got closer to Shunning City, the movements of these demonic beasts would slow down a little, and even their breathing gradually became lighter. Only pairs of flashing cold eyes lit up in the darkness. Tonight, Shunning City was not on high alert. A group of demonic beasts came to Shunning City, but the alarm on the city wall did not sound. Master Black Snake, shall we climb the city wall now? A beast king quietly walked to Lin Yuan's side and took the initiative to ask. It did not really believe that Lin Yuan's night attack plan would succeed, but it was very clear that Lin Yuan dared to directly kill the Foxman warlord. After meeting with the Beast King's emissary, he was still safe and sound. Moreover, he was even acting more and more arrogant. This meant that this black snake must have something to rely on and was not afraid of the Beast King's emissary. If its guess was correct, in the next few decades, the Hengduan Mountains and the surrounding areas of the Xinwu dynasty would become the black snake's hunting ground. Whether it was ordinary demonic beasts or beast kings, they could only tremble in fear when they saw the black snake. Therefore, there was no harm in getting familiar with the black snake now. Even if the black snake was pretending, it did not matter. The Beast King's emissary would find trouble with the black snake in the future. No, wait a little longer. Lin Yuan lay on the ground. His heterochromatic eyes shone with a strange light. What are we waiting for? Are we waiting for dawn? The white deer rolled its eyes. It was more familiar with the black snake, so it naturally did not have so many scruples. But now that it thought about it, it was really a little scared. After all, under the black snake's control, almost all the beast kings had lost a lot of their men in Shunning City. Only the white deer himself had not lost many demonic beasts. Now that it followed Lin Yuan to attack Shunning City in the middle of the night, it had a bad premonition. No, wait for the main force of the humans to come out. Lin Yuan licked his lips. The strange light in his eyes shone even brighter. If it was not for his sense of smell monitoring every movement in Shunning City, he would not have thought that these humans would have the audacity to attack the demonic beasts' camp tonight. However, there were only 2 regular human armies that were fighting with them today. There were still 6 human armies that had yet to be mobilized. It was not impossible for them to take advantage of the demonic beasts' low morale and exhaustion to launch a surprise attack on the demonic beasts' camp. The main force of the humans? Come out. King Kong was slightly startled. It looked at Lin Yuan with a strange expression. Oh my god. Those beast kings in the camp seemed to have been unknowingly tricked by the black snake again. If there were beast kings who were lucky enough to survive, wouldn't they do whatever the black snake asked them to do in the future? About 20 minutes later, the gate of Shunning City slowly opened. It was like a giant beast hibernating in the dark, quietly opening its bloody mouth full of sharp teeth and slowly approaching its prey. As the gate opened, a cavalry of 5,000 to 6,000 people slowly walked out of the gate. All of them were wearing black armor and black clothes. The hooves of the horses were wrapped in cloth, and there were copper coins in the mouths of the horses. The troop of thousands of people moved slowly without making any sound. If they had not seen them coming out, they would not have believed that this was real. Lin Yuan's heart did not waver. With a calm face, he said, "Wait a little longer. The gate will not be closed. These knights will retreat after burning our camp. When they return to Shunning City, the gate will be closed. We will rush in and directly seize the gate tower. We will make sure that our escape route will not be cut off. We will give these humans a hard time." Chapter 273. Thousands of cavalrymen slowly left the perimeter of Shunning City. As planned, they divided themselves into 3 groups and surrounded the demonic beast's camp. Their movements were still uniform. They pulled out a black stick from the back of the saddle and lit it up with a match. The black stick soaked in kerosene was ignited in an instant. In an instant, the area was lit up by the fire, as if it was daytime. Fire! The leader of the cavalrymen threw out the fire stick in his hand and coldly closed his helmet. Thousands of fire sticks followed closely behind, completely igniting the demonic beast's camp. Everywhere they looked, demonic beasts were running around in panic. Only a few demonic beasts were still trying their best to gather the other demonic beasts around them. Unfortunately, it was not very effective. At this time, there were too few demonic beasts that could still remain calm. After all, demonic beasts were also evolved from wild beasts. Although the bonfires that humans lit to guard against wild beasts were useless against them, when the scale of the fire reached a certain level, they would still feel fear. Just like now. Kill! The leader of the cavalrymen gave the order again. He took the lead and rushed into the demonic beast's camp. The spear in his hand instantly pierced through the bodies of 4 demonic beasts. At this moment, the protective mechanism of the spear was triggered. When the steel tip of the spear pierced through the enemy's body, the hardwood in the middle broke under the pressure. The recoil force would not be transmitted to the cavalryman. Otherwise, the recoil force would have been enough to cripple one of his hands. After the spear was broken, the cavalryman threw away the handle in his hand and pulled out a curved sword from the back of the saddle. With the help of the high speed of the horse, the cavalryman began to clear out the demonic beasts that were approaching. One by one, the corpses of the demonic beasts fell to the ground. Blossoms of demonic blood bloomed in the air. Soon, all the demonic beasts' resistance in the camp were slaughtered by the cavalrymen. Although there were some that escaped the net and ran away when they saw that the situation was not right, there were not many of them. It was completely harmless. The cavalrymen laughed wildly. They even dragged some of the demonic beasts that were still alive behind their horses. They had been suppressed by the demonic beasts for so long. Finally, they could vent their anger. "Old son, the number isn't right," a knight suddenly furrowed his brows and muttered softly. Then, he muttered, "The demonic beasts here seem to be the ones that were fighting on the city walls during the day. Other than them, there are dozens of beast kings and their subordinate demonic beasts that are not here. Moreover, I heard that the demonic beasts from other places are also gathering here. Therefore, it is impossible for the demonic beast camp to only have so few demonic beasts." The rider called Old Son was stepping on the corpse of a demonic beast. He laughed and said, "What's wrong with that? This was only one of the demonic beast camps. At most, there were 7 or 8 beast kings stationed here. When the battle started, these beast kings would bring their subordinate demonic beasts to gather with their commanders. Then, they would mobilize the demonic beasts from their respective camps. Not only is there nothing wrong with the number of demonic beasts here, it's even." Old Son's voice suddenly stopped. After a while, he seemed to have suddenly thought of something and directly rushed towards the demonic beast camp where the flames were rising. "The number of demonic beasts here is wrong." "Of course not. During the day, the demonic beasts that fought with the Thunder Lord's army suffered heavy losses. It was absolutely impossible for there to be so many demonic beasts in this camp. The demonic beasts that they encountered now could only mean that the number of demonic beasts in this camp was much more than they had imagined. However, after a round of cleaning, they did not see many beast kings. Then, where did all the demonic beasts go? On the other side. Under the leadership of Lin Yuan, the demonic beasts that participated in the night raid sneaked into Shunning City one after another. The few sentries on the city walls did not even have time to react before their throats were cut by the feathers of several flying demonic beasts. From the moment the knights left the city to the moment the demonic beasts entered the city, it was like 2 armies switching sides. In the past 10 minutes, there was not even the slightest movement from the side of Shunning City. The entire city wall was occupied by the demonic beasts. A part of the city's defense equipment was instantly destroyed. If the battle that happened during the day happened again, the side of Shunning City would definitely not be able to suppress the demonic beast's charge with artillery. Some of you who are quick, come with me. Let's burn the humans' granary. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flickered in the darkness as he whispered an order to the demonic beasts beside him. In this war, he had made a great concession. First, he let the members of the Association of the Demon Emperor send a batch of materials that were enough for the humans to defend. Then, in terms of strategy, he gave the humans several victories. He did not expect that the humans would still dare to go out of the city and launch a night raid on the demonic beast's camp. If they continued to follow this train of thought, when the Xinwu dynasty sent reinforcements, wouldn't the humans directly rush out of Shunning City and drive them all the way back to the demonic beast's forest? Since the humans were so restless, Lin Yuan naturally would not be polite. Compared to the large scale of thousands of knights, Lin Yuan's night raid was silent, but deadly enough. First, he took over the city gate tower. Now, the city gate facing the Hengduan Mountains was completely under Lin Yuan's control. Soon, the demonic beasts in the other demonic beasts' camp would realize that there was a night raid. Even without the Black Snake's order, they would not let the human knights who had left the city and entered the wilderness go. As long as Lin Yuan closed the city gate of Shunning City, the humans would not be able to escape death even if they escaped to the city walls. Although the night raid in Shunning City had killed countless knights, the source of soldiers was never a problem for the demonic beasts. Even if all the demonic beasts were killed today, the demonic beasts in the Hengduan Mountains would continue to organize a beast tide in 2 or 3 years and send the surplus demonic beasts to the humans' camp to die. Soon, a group of demonic beasts that were good at sneaking, hiding, and moving fast left their original team and followed Lin Yuan, slowly blending into the night. After all, Lin Yuan had stayed in Shunning City for several days and had the information network of the Association of the Demon Emperor. Therefore, the secret strongholds in Shunning City were no secret to Lin Yuan. Even the number of guards in the granaries, the number of hidden sentries, and the location of the sentries were all under Lin Yuan's control. After all, the other members of the Association of the Demon Emperor had left, but the branch in Shunning City still existed. Chapter 274. Shunning City, City Lord's Mansion. The City Lord of Shunning City was awakened by the panicked shoving of his housekeeper. Fortunately, the City Lord's temper was not bad, and the housekeeper had served him for many years, so the relationship between the two sides was very good. If it was someone with a bad temper, being woken up in the middle of the night like this, it would be good if he did not kill the other party to vent his anger. "Uncle Fu, what's wrong?" The City Lord of Shunning City sat on the edge of the bed, rubbing his sleepy eyes, and asked casually. Although he looked a little lazy, but the City Lord of Shunning City's heartstrings were tight. After all, Uncle Fu was an old man who had been promoted from his father's generation, and had seen many things in the world. There were not many things that could make him so panicked, and this matter must be related to Shunning City, otherwise Uncle Fu would not have woken him up in the middle of the night. Could it be? The City Lord of Shunning City slowly opened his eyes. In the evening, the 7 city lords held an emergency meeting, and the general idea was that they should take advantage of the fact that the monster beasts were tired and dispirited, and organize a night attack to clear out one of the monster beasts' camps. This would not only deter these beasts, but also relieve the pressure on Shunning City. The proposal was good, but it was rejected on the spot by him, Lei Fan and the City Lord Lei Gongyan. To them, the current situation was already quite good. As long as they maintained this kind of relationship with the demonic beasts, they would be able to pass these 3 days peacefully. There was no need for them to do anything unnecessary. For example, they would offend these demonic beasts just to vent their anger. If by any chance they angered that self-proclaimed demonic emperor, this good situation would instantly collapse under the rage of the other party. "Young master, the city lords have organized a group of people to attack the monster beasts' camps at night." Uncle Fu took a deep breath, and there was a touch of fear in his eyes. The city lord of Shunning City took a deep breath, and when he looked at Uncle Fu, his whole body trembled slightly. Uncle Fu was an old man in the family, and when he served the previous city lord, his father, he called him young master. Now that his father had passed away for nearly 10 years, the name Uncle Fu still did not change. It was just that the child who only looked for Uncle Fu to solve his problems, had become a middle-aged man who carried the burden of the family. The city lord of Shunning City heaved a heavy sigh of relief. His eyes were slightly red as he comforted him, "It's okay. Tonight's night attack is 100% successful. After all, our situation here is not good. The demon beasts will never think that we would dare to leave the safety of Shunning City to attack them. It's just that the next battle won't be easy." The Shifter Emperor had given them a chance to breathe and had shown them enough kindness. If they could control their thoughts that they shouldn't have, then the unpleasant things between both sides wouldn't have happened. But now, the humans had taken the initiative to jump out of their comfort zone, which was obviously a slap to the Shifter Emperor's face. It would be fine if Shunning City had the strength to do so, but unfortunately, Shunning City did not have the strength to do so. Now that he had offended the Demon the Arch, the only result was that the Demon the Arch would be enraged and would not go easy on him anymore. Theoretically speaking, the reinforcements from the Imperial capital would arrive in Shunning City in 3 days. However, no one knew if there would be any accidents during this period. Moreover, the Shenwu dynasty was in a precarious situation now. It was already a good result for them to be able to defend their own territory. It was impossible for them to take the initiative to take over the war and fight against the Hengduan Mountains. He had clearly rejected their proposal, but these guys still dared to do it. Not only did they offend the Demon the Arch, but they also challenged his authority. This made him, who had a strong desire for control, very unhappy. "No, it's not that. Young master, let me finish. The city lords did send people to attack the demon beasts' camp at night. I don't know how the battle went, but the demon beasts also killed their way into Shunning City in less than half an hour. I just received the news that Shunning City was completely lost, and we lost a large number of city defense equipment." Uncle Fu's voice was trembling. Even an old man like him who didn't know much about war understood how important a safe city wall was for humans. Losing these city defense equipment was like appearing naked in front of the demon beasts, and they might be bitten off at any time. Boom! It was as if a heavy bomb had exploded in his mind. After hearing the news of the demon beasts' night attack, the city lord of Shunning City trembled with anger. How did the demon beasts get in? If they climbed the city wall or invaded by flying demon beasts, no matter how small the movement was, it was impossible for the sentries on the city wall not to have time to react. There was only one possibility for this to happen. These sentries thought that the night attack troops would have carried out a thorough investigation of the surrounding environment after leaving the city, so they didn't expect that there would be demon beasts nearby. Therefore, they relaxed their vigilance, which gave the demon beasts a chance to take advantage of. In addition, the city gate was wide open, so the demon beasts didn't need to climb the city wall at all. They could directly walk in through the gate. As long as they were fast enough, they could kill the sentries in an instant. They could even silence the sound directly without anyone noticing. Quick! Go and inform our people to send more people to the granary immediately. After being stunned for a moment, the city lord of Shunning City was no longer thinking about who to blame, but how to minimize the loss. Now that the city was controlled by the demon beasts, not to mention the loss of city defense equipment, if the demon beasts were more ruthless and directly closed the city gate to resist the attack of the soldiers in Shunning City, the night attack troops outside would be completely wiped out. If the demon beasts took advantage of this time to burn down the granary, although they wouldn't immediately run out of ammunition and food, if something happened in the imperial capital and the reinforcement troops couldn't arrive on time, they would be in danger. Uncle Fu responded repeatedly and immediately trotted outside. The city lord of Shunning City didn't dare to stay any longer. He directly put on a coat and strode out of the room. When the governor of Shunning City walked into the courtyard, he was once again frozen in place. He looked at the slowly rising smoke in the direction of the granary and felt as if all the strength in his body had been sucked out. Bastard! Bastard is not worth my time. The city lord of Shunning City stared at the direction of the granary with blood-red eyes and roared to the sky. He knew the mentality of those city lords. After all, the scale of the demon beast tide this time was too big. It was not an existence that a city could resist. However, they didn't even have any contact with the demon beasts and directly gave up their city. Strategically speaking, it was correct, but from another point of view, it was dereliction of duty. Chapter 275. They wanted to earn some military exploits. This idea was understandable. However, this matter was not urgent. In these 3 days, according to the extent that the demon monarch went easy on them, each of them would be able to gain a considerable amount of military exploits. Although they might not be promoted, it would not be a problem for them to keep their positions and lives. However, some people were in a panic. They couldn't wait any longer and wanted to do whatever they could think of. If it weren't for what happened tonight, even if the demon beasts attacked them unilaterally, they would only be able to rush up to the city wall and kill some sentries. Moreover, they would suffer a lot of losses. This could be considered as one of the demon king's actions of going easy on them. However, because of this stupid decision, the demon king's night attack changed from a joking attitude to a serious one. The mayor of Shunning City naturally thought that because of the Demon King's previous actions of going easy on them, many people probably didn't take him seriously. However, in fact, those who had been on the battlefield for a long time knew that winning a battle was not easy, and losing a battle was even more of a skill. For example, Black Snake's tactical thinking was interlinked, and he could challenge the tactics according to the situation on the battlefield at any time. He could really lose this battle, or he could fake his defeat and turn the situation around. From the beginning to the end, the rhythm of the whole battle was in the hands of Black Snake. Even the mayor of Thunder Gongyen City, who was a professional soldier, felt inferior to him. The mayor of Shunning City really couldn't figure out why those city lords had the courage to underestimate Black Snake. At this time, the knights who attacked the demon beast camp at night rode their horses back. Although they had many doubts in their hearts, it didn't stop them from showing excitement on their faces. However, the people waiting for them on the city wall were not their comrades, and they didn't expect the praise they had imagined. Only pairs of sarcastic, mocking, and tyrannical eyes of the demon beasts were staring at them in the dark. Under the horrified eyes of the knights, the city gate of Shunning City closed little by little, directly separating the knights who attacked at night from the safety of the city. It was like two completely different worlds. The knight surnamed Sun frowned and rushed to the city gate. He knocked on the gate with the hilt of his sword and growled, "What are you doing? The demon beasts behind are about to catch up. Hurry up and open the gate. Hey! Let us in." What responded to the knight surnamed Sun was not a greeting from his fellow soldiers, nor was it the slowly opening city gate. Instead, it was a huge rock that was pushed down from the city wall by a rhinoceros demon beast. The knight surnamed Sun, who was caught off guard, did not even have the time to dodge before he was smashed into a pile of meat paste along with his horse. "This road is blocked, you little human bastards." The rhinoceros demon beast stepped on the city wall with one foot. Its eyes flashed with excitement as it laughed. The rhinoceros was also a beast king, but it was not as smart as the other beast kings. It did not plan anything. It simply felt that as a subordinate, it should obey the orders of its commander. That was why it followed the Black Snake and participated in the night attack against Shunning City. Originally, the rhinoceros was worried that the Black Serpent would continue to act like before, but now it seemed that the Black Serpent was really angry. Not only was there no mistake in his command, but on the contrary, every step of the operation was clearly planned by him. The entire night raid was also interlocked, leaving no chance for these humans to react. Demonic beast? Demon beast? How could demon beasts be in Shunning City? In an instant, a huge question mark appeared on top of all the knights' heads. But to be honest, after a group of demon beasts occupied the city gate, it was tantamount to sentencing them to death. Even if the troops in Shunning City could quickly clean up these demon beasts, the beast tied behind them would also put enough pressure on the human side. At this time, no one would be brave enough to open the city gate for these warriors who participated in the night raid. Otherwise, if the demon beasts outside rushed in, none of them would be able to escape. The knights who had been in high spirits a moment ago were now as listless as cripples who had been hit by frost. A strong sense of despair began to spread among the night raid troops. The demon beasts from other demon beasts camps also slowly arrived at the battlefield. When they saw the closed gate of Shunning City and the demon beasts standing on the city wall, they immediately became excited. Their commander had obviously begun to exert his strength. He swept away the decline during the day and took down the city wall directly in one round. Even the knights on the human side who could fight against the demon beasts were pushed into a desperate situation. In the face of absolute numbers, these thousands of carefully selected elite knights were of no use at all. It was like facing an overwhelming flood. A cluster of bonfire could only be extinguished in an instant. About half an hour later, the 7 city lords led their own troops to the city gates slowly. Pairs of eyes fell on Lin Yuan, but Lin Yuan could not see any hatred from these eyes, only fear and regret. When Lin Yuan saw this scene, he only felt a sense of boredom. Although these humans gathered here, in fact, they did not have much fighting spirit. They did not even want to fight against the demon beasts. Black Snake, we were wrong. The city lord of Shunning City swallowed a mouthful of saliva and took the initiative to walk out of the crowd. His deep black eyes were very dim at this moment, like the stars that were about to fall. Although this matter was not his responsibility from the beginning to the end, the problem was, after all, his fault. If he had maintained his vigilance and continued to rest in the city gate tower, this night raid troop would never have left Shunning City. In that case, Black Snake would not have directly killed his way into Shunning City and forced them into a situation where they could not back down. Lin Yuan opened his mouth and showed a sarcastic smile. He said in a cold voice, "I just wanted to say hello to you, but you gave me a big surprise. Human, I can see that your status is not low. I will give you a chance. Tell me, how do you want to solve this matter?" He kindly gave these humans a chance to live, but they did not cherish it at all. They even planned to directly slap him in the face at night. If this matter was exposed like this, even if Lin Yuan could bear it, the Beast Master Kirin's evaluation of him would be greatly reduced. He might even be included in the ranks of the demon beasts who were friendly to humans. When the Beast Master Kirin chose the true successor, he could just wait for death. Therefore, these humans must pay the price. And they must pay a very painful price. The city lord of Shunning City looked resentful and did not know how to respond. Chapter 276. What was the scariest thing about bargaining? It was not asking for a sky-high price, nor was it asking for money on the ground. It was when your opponent had the absolute advantage and directly kicked the ball to you. If you gave too much, it would make you look stupid, and the price would be more painful. If you gave too little and the other party did not agree, you could only stare at them helplessly. Hiss, who? The city lord of Shunning City took a deep breath, and his eyes showed a touch of determination. He said in a deep voice, "Black Snake, your name is well known in the area around the Hengduan Mountains. I think you, as the Beast King of the Stoneclaw Forest, should know about the verbal contract signed between the city lord of Zhongshan City and the Three-Eyed Ape. Today, I am willing to represent all the city lords of the 7 border cities and the Demon Slayer Association to sign a similar contract with you." What? Impossible. Are you crazy? When the city lord of Shunning City finished speaking, the other city lords suddenly shouted. Only Lei Fan and the city lord with the Thunder Lord's face did not express their opinions, and just watched everything in front of them coldly. Now, even if the Shenwu dynasty survived, it would be in a state of great loss. In a short time, it would not be able to transfer extra forces into the Hengduan Mountains to hunt. Therefore, signing this contract would not cause any substantial loss to the human race. However, if they could protect Shunning City, it would be a great achievement. The city lord of Zhongshan City had a miserable end because the demonic beasts had swept through the city, and it did not have a big impact on the Xinwu dynasty. However, the contract signed by the city lord of Zhongshan City affected the income of the entire Xinwu dynasty. However, these were two different things. If Zhongshan City was gone, so be it. However, if Shunning City was gone, it meant that the hinterland of the human race was completely exposed to the Hengduan Mountains. The demonic beast's area of activity would no longer be limited to that small area in the demonic beast forest. Therefore, if they could not protect Shunning City at this time, they would have a miserable end. When the Xinwu dynasty recovered and had enough strength, would the so-called contract still be effective? Could it be that the monster beast palace would use this as an excuse to attack the Xinwu dynasty? Not to mention the 7 empires that were at the peak of their power, even the disciples of some sects didn't put the demonic beasts in their eyes. In their eyes, the development of this world had become abnormal. Humans didn't even treat the demonic beasts as another intelligent race. In their eyes, the demonic beasts were just spiritual herbs that could make them stronger. Without waiting for Lin Yuan's reply, the Shunning City lord's gaze turned cold. His eyes fell directly on the clamoring city lords, and his voice became as cold as ice. Then let's change the way we deal with it. Let's catch the masterminds behind tonight's attack on the demonic beasts' camp, peel off their skin, pull out their tendons, and hang them on the top of Shunning City under the sun to vent their anger for the demonic beasts. How about that? The 7 border cities were considered to be borderlands. People with backgrounds wouldn't come to this kind of place to make a living. Therefore, even these city lords couldn't be considered as talents. There were only a few that could be brought out. For example, in his opinion, Lei Fan, who was originally here to make a name for himself, could more or less be considered as a talent. It was just that he was too close to the demonic beasts. If this continued, Lei Fan would be tied together with the Black Snake and the Demon Emperor. Although it was enough to support Lei Fan to run amok in the northern frontier, before his power accumulated to a certain extent, this kind of behavior would undoubtedly be criticized and even suppressed by some factions that hated the demonic beasts. As for the city lord Lei Gong, he was a grassroots who rose from nothing. Although he had a certain amount of ability, his character was too irritable. Many times, without the guidance of someone with foresight, it was easy for him to play himself to death. If these useless people were abandoned, they could fool the demonic beasts, and the city lord of Shunning City would immediately pick up the butcher's knife and kill them. Lin Yuan coiled his snake body and came in front of the city lord of Shunning City. A pair of different colored vertical pupils looked at the city lord of Shunning City, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He lowered his voice and said slowly, "Look at me, do I look like a fool? To be honest, I did give you a chance, didn't I? Why can't you just obediently muddle through these few days? Since you don't want to be obedient, then I don't need to give you any more face, right?" Lin Yuan's words made the city lord of Shunning City's expression stagnate, and his eyes revealed a bit of fear. Although he didn't know why, he could feel that the Black Snake was extremely angry at this moment. When he stood face to face with the Black Snake, he was worried that the Black Snake would attack him at any time and bite his head off. "I have a proposal. You can choose to accept it, or you can choose to kill all of you, and then I will carry it out myself." Lin Yuan's voice once again rang in the ears of the city lord of Shunning City. He said in a cold voice, "I can guarantee that Shunning City will continue to exist, but in my opinion, these 2 city walls are not necessary to exist. Anyway, the periphery of the Hengduan Mountains near the Xinwu dynasty will soon be ruled by me. As long as you don't provoke me, I won't bother to deal with you." The Black Snake's proposal made the city lord of Shunning City break out in a cold sweat. As the most impregnable pass in the northern frontier of the Xinwu dynasty, Shunning City directly blocked many evil beasts in the Hengduan Mountains, which showed its importance. If the two city walls were lost as a barrier, the evil beasts could break through the defense line of Shunning City at any time and go straight to the hinterland of the Shinwu dynasty. Then, whether Shunning City still existed or not would be meaningless. But as the Black Snake said, it was just a proposal. No matter whether the city lord of Shunning City agreed or not, the result would not change. After these evil beasts killed all of them, they could destroy the city walls at any time. Since the night raid left Shunning City tonight, their fate seemed to have been nailed to death by the Black Snake. Should they choose to surrender to an evil beast and continue to live, or should they choose to be a martyr for the Shinwu dynasty? After thinking for a moment, the city lord of Shunning City knelt down in front of Lin Yuan on one knee and said loudly, "Subordinate Hu Yen pays respect to Demon Emperor. I'm willing to go through water and tread on fire for Demon Emperor." Hu Yan's kneeling instantly meant that there was a new faction in the Shinwu dynasty. It was a force made up of defeated people, criminals, demi-humans, and evil beasts. Although it couldn't be compared with the aristocratic families in the south, in the northern frontier, the Demon Emperor Association would become the biggest, only, and unquestionable voice. The remaining members of the Jiao clan who had been playing tricks in the dark would soon be dug out and cleaned up one by the intelligence network of the Demon Emperor Association. Seeing that the other city lords also knelt down, Lin Yuan nodded with satisfaction. This war was already over. Chapter 277. The Shinwu Dynasty, Imperial Capital. All the civil and military officials were gathered in one place, looking at the man sitting on the dragon throne. They all looked like they wanted to say something, but no one dared to speak at this time, afraid that they would offend this person. The Shinwu dynasty was not very stable internally. In the early days, the disciples of the old officials of the Wanjian dynasty were part of a faction. Although Lei Qiusheng wanted to get rid of them, these people did not give Lei Qiusheng any excuse. In addition, the power of this faction was spread throughout the various cities of the Shinwu dynasty. Therefore, even though Lei Qiusheng had been looking for an opportunity, he had not been able to make a move. Otherwise, the entire Shinwu dynasty would have fallen into chaos. Now, the faction of the old officials from the previous dynasty had not been dealt with yet, and a new faction had appeared on the northern frontier. With the garrison of the northern frontier and the various city lords as their base, supported by demonic beasts, criminals, and demi-humans, this faction was even more annoying in human society, but at the same time, their power was even more terrifying. If getting rid of the old officials from the previous dynasty would only cause the Shinwu dynasty to fall into chaos, then getting rid of the new faction on the northern frontier would be a direct rebellion. Most importantly, the leader of this new faction was a descendant of the Lei family. "Zhang Xiu, have you investigated the matter that I asked you to?" Lei Qiusheng, who was sitting on the dragon throne, slowly raised his head as a cold glint flashed across his deep eyes. "I've investigated it. The one working with young Master Lei Fan is a black snake." Before this year, there had never been any news about this black snake, but since the second half of this year, the rumors about the black snake have never stopped. It is said that this black snake went from a wild beast to the 10th level of the Spirit Awakening realm in just a few short months, and now to the 10th level of the Wisdom realm in less than a year. In terms of talent, the black snake is definitely at the top. The members of the embroidered uniform guard have already secretly investigated the black snake, but they did not find any ancient bloodline in the black snake. It could even be said that the black snake does not have any bloodline at all. However, during this period of time, we have conducted a further investigation and found that the black snake has the bloodline of a demonic beast from the dragon race. Moreover, it is very pure, similar to the offspring of a pure-blooded demonic beast. In addition, putting aside the black snake's personal problems, there are many things about the black snake that we should be wary of. The black snake seems to know how to use troops even more than the generals of the Shinwu dynasty's border generals, and is very accurate in guessing people's hearts. In terms of intelligence and strategy, the black serpent was an existence that stood at the top of the pyramid in human society. There is also the association of the demonic emperors that the black snake created, which is an even more mysterious organization. Our embroidered uniform guard once tried to recruit some criminals and demi-humans to serve as low-level members. First of all, these people's battle strength is not bad, and their fighting style is quite fierce and fearless. They are very qualified soldiers. However, with their backgrounds, it is destined that they will not be able to reach the clouds smoothly. This is one thing. The other thing is that almost all of these people are golden hounds. As long as they can bring them enough benefits, there is nothing they cannot sell. In fact, if the benefits are enticing enough, they will even sell themselves out. Thus, these people do not have much loyalty to speak of. Moreover, their style of doing things is crude and barbaric, and the slightest bit of friction can easily lead to trouble. Our embroidered uniform guards training program for these criminals and demi-humans ended in failure. However, when these people are gathered in the association of the demonic emperors, they are like a high-quality and powerful elite force. Not only are their execution abilities strong, but they can also execute orders without fail. This method of training subordinates is quite terrifying. Zhang Xiu slowly walked out from the civil and military officials and told them all he knew about the Black Snake. Finally, Zhang Xiu cleared his throat and said in a deep voice, "Finally, I would like to add one more thing. Many people believe that the Black Snake is the demonic emperors, but I personally do not agree with this view. In my opinion, the Black Snake is more like a puppet of the demonic emperors, a smokescreen thrown out in the open. Even the Black Snake's strength and bloodline were personally bestowed by the demonic emperors." Lei Qiusheng's fingertips lightly tapped on the dragon throne's armrest. His deep black eyes flashed with a cold light. According to the information Zhang Xiu had obtained, this Black Snake was definitely a rare talent. Even in the Xinwu dynasty, it could definitely be called a Kirin talent. No matter what position was given to the Black Snake, it could perfectly perform it to the best of its ability. However, this was where the problem came from. If such a terrifying demonic beast existed in the world, if it was not eliminated as soon as possible, it would sooner or later grow into a great threat to humanity. Lei Qiusheng's eyes turned and landed on Zhang Xiu with a gaze that made people not dare to look at him directly. He frowned and said, "Why do you evaluate the Black Snake like this?" The Black Snake's talent and aptitude were all first-class existences. If such an existence could be treated as a puppet and a smokescreen by the Shifter Emperor, then how terrifying would the Shifter Emperor hidden in the dark be? It's very simple. It's because I feel that many of the things the Black Snake has done are actually under the orders of the Shifter Emperor. However, from some of the small actions of the Black Snake, I can see that the Black Snake's intelligence is actually not that high. For example, its current network in the Hengduan mountain range is almost zero. Almost all the demonic beasts that have encountered it in the Hengduan mountain range have been offended by it at least once. There's also the Yuanyang siblings that were previously listed as dangerous demonic beasts by the Demon Slayer Association. They originally helped the Black Snake deal with the Red Flame Crocodile King. After the matter was settled, the siblings disappeared without a trace, while the Black Snake's strength increased by another wave. Therefore, I'm guessing that the Yuanyang siblings might have been devoured by the Black Snake. Such a demonic beast that doesn't have any emotional intelligence or foresight and only cares about the laughable benefits in front of it would definitely not form an organization like the Association of the Shifter Emperor. It's even more impossible for it to suppress our generals at the northern frontier. Therefore, the only explanation is that some of the Black Snake's actions are not of its own volition. It is only strictly following the orders that the Shifter Emperor conveyed to it. Zhang Xiu's eyes flickered. He combined the information he had obtained and made a reasonable analysis. The Black Snake's every move was indeed full of contradictions in their eyes. Sometimes, it was so scheming that it was enough to make people feel afraid. However, when it did things, it was more like a brainless single-celled organism. However, strictly speaking, there really was a Shifter Emperor behind Lin Yuan. That was the system. Some of the rewards that Lin Yuan had given out, apart from the phase produced in the Hengduan mountain range, were all derivatives of a certain function of the system. For example, the physique training technique that shocked the world was the golden body art that he had obtained when he opened the system gift pack. Chapter 278. Lei Qiusheng narrowed his eyes slightly and said in a deep voice, "If you put it this way, it's really interesting. In short, this demon emperor is a huge threat to the entire human race. If we can get rid of it, we must do so as soon as possible. Stop all the work at hand during this period of time. The embroidered uniform guards will do their best to track this black snake and see if we can find out who the demon emperor behind it is." Lei Qiusheng's words shocked all the officials and generals in the imperial court. Compared to the officials of the previous dynasty, this divine martial emperor could not tolerate the addition of a force mainly made up of demonic beasts in his faction. He also could not tolerate a terrifying existence that could lead the demonic beasts to dominate the human race to continue to be active around the Shenwu dynasty. This subordinate accepts the order. Zhang Xiu cupped his fists and replied. His eyes flashed with excitement. He had been doing some things before Lei Qiusheng's order. He had even combed through the Black Snake's network but did not find anyone who could be the demon emperor. However, in the face of such a conclusion, Zhang Xiu did not despair. Instead, he was even more interested in unearthing the real demon emperor. He was too lazy to do things that were not challenging. Su Wu. Lei Qiusheng's voice sounded again. This general is here. A tall and sturdy man who looked like an iron tower walked out from the ranks of the generals. Lei Qiusheng sat on the dragon throne and looked up slightly. It was as if his gaze had penetrated the endless void and landed on the northern frontier. His deep voice sounded slowly. "From now on, the Xiongwu army will withdraw from the South Sea battlefield. Along the way, gather the scattered troops and integrate the demon-subduing masters and the mercenaries. You must gather 1,000,000 troops and rush to the northern frontier battlefield within half a month. Be prepared to fight with the northern frontier and take back the territory that belongs to us humans." This general obeys. Su Wu cupped his fists. A hint of bitterness flashed across his resolute face. Although he had already guessed that the divine martial emperor was going to fight with the northern frontier and wanted to drive the demonic beasts, criminals, and demi-humans out of the Shenwu dynasty's territory, he did not expect this order to be issued so quickly. He also did not expect this difficult task to fall on his shoulders. If the black snake was so easy to deal with, the northern frontier would not have changed hands. Let's not talk about the divine martial emperor's actions against the black snake. At this moment, the northern frontier was bustling with activity. Almost all adult men working hard to dismantle the city's buildings. Even the city walls that were used to defend against the invaders did not escape. Even the city walls that were used to resist the invaders' city walls could not escape. Although the 7 cities still maintained their basic structure, they had completely lost the qualifications to challenge Mountain Range's city. In addition, the original 7-city garrison legions had been completely disbanded. With the original elite soldiers and generals as the backbone, a new Northern Frontier Guard Legion was formed. Although a large number of new soldiers had been recruited and their combat power was far inferior to the previous 7-city coalition, the size and cohesion of the legion were already different from before. While these humans were working hard for Lin Yuan, the income was also quite terrifying. If a mercenary wanted to quit this profession, it would take at least 5 to 8 years to save enough money for the rest of his life. However, this amount of money was almost nothing to Lin Yuan. Even the most ordinary worker could easily earn a sum of money that was not less than the mercenary's pension after working for a year. It could not be helped. Lin Yuan now had the words "rich and overbearing" written on his face. As an existence who had transmigrated from the era of information explosion to this ancient world, Lin Yuan was very clear that any business in this world was profitable. The reason why there were losses and profits was because the problem of personal ability and background was an extremely difficult hurdle to cross. However, no matter what business it was, as long as one could achieve a monopoly, it would definitely be profitable. Coincidentally, Lin Yuan had almost achieved the condition of a monopoly. If humans wanted to speed up their cultivation, they had to have demonic beast flesh or phase. Although these two things could not be said to be the specialty of the Hengduan mountain range, 80% of the goods came from the Hengduan mountain range. Now, Lin Yuan not only controlled the periphery of the Hengduan mountain range that was adjacent to the Xinwu dynasty, but he also controlled the background of the Xinwu dynasty. Apart from passing through Shunning City, which had been demolished, there was no other way to sell demonic beast flesh and phase from the Hengduan mountain range to the Xinwu dynasty's territory. Of course, it was not impossible to purchase from other empires. However, the neighboring Qingjiang Empire and Shuangjian Empire were still in a state of war with the Xinwu dynasty. If the caravans wanted to pass through the battlefield to enter the enemy's territory, then purchase enough phase before returning, the danger would be much higher than directly crossing the Hengduan mountain range. To put it bluntly, war was originally burning money. Even if the enemy's resources were enough to support the war, who would be stupid enough to reject a group of free takeaways? As a result, all the caravans gathered in Shunning City and waited for the Demon Emperor Association's members to transport the limited amount of phase to Shunning City's warehouse to be auctioned. Lin Yuan was very clear that his business was close to a monopoly. All the phase had to have a frightening base price. Then, the various large merchant associations and idle merchants in the warehouse would bid to raise the price. The speed of earning money was much faster than directly robbing. As for the merchants working together to suppress the price? Sorry, but whether there would be more stock next time would depend on Lin Yuan's mood. Moreover, if Lin Yuan could raise the price, the merchants who made a living doing this were even more proficient in this field. Especially when the other merchant associations ran out of stock, the price that they could sell their stock for would make Lin Yuan feel inferior. In just half a month, the wealth that Lin Yuan's Demon Emperor Association had absorbed had even surpassed the total income of the Xinwu dynasty in the past 5 years. Naturally, this money was not idle in Lin Yuan's hands. After all, to him, although there were countless dangers in the Hengduan mountain range, it was still much more convenient than humans. Therefore, large amounts of phase, herbs, weapons, and equipment, and even some technologies that were secretly leaked from some dynasties were slowly piling up in the northern frontier. Although the current northern frontier still belonged to the Xinwu dynasty, everyone could see that the northern frontier was equivalent to an independent dynasty. They completely listened to the emperor god's orders and did not listen to them. Many aristocratic families had even secretly facilitated a lot, hoping to get a share of Lin Yuan's business. However, the heat of the past half a month had completely dissipated today. The entire northern frontier was filled with the atmosphere of a coming storm. The streets of Shunning City were filled with an oppressive atmosphere. Pairs of eyes looked uneasily at the approaching military flag. Chapter 279. The Xiong Wujuan. An elite force that had been passed down for 100 years. This force was initially established as a cavalry unit. Now, it had become an organized army. In addition, the Xinwu dynasty had been constantly recruiting defeated troops from various battlefields into the Xiong Wujuan. At the same time, they had also spent a large amount of money to hire a considerable number of demon-subduing masters and mercenaries to participate in the war. This army that was approaching the northern frontier had already reached 3 million people. It had even exceeded Su Wu's expectations. Facing such a terrifying human army, Lin Yuan's eyes flashed with a hint of gloominess. The Xinwu dynasty was already in a precarious situation. Although the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas had stopped their invasion, the Azure River and Frost Mirror empires had already invested a lot of resources. It was naturally impossible for them to make peace without getting any benefits. Therefore, the war on the two fronts was still very tense. With the Xinwu dynasty's current resources, it was not difficult to support an army of 3 million people. However, it was still not a small burden. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not expect the Xiong Wujuan to have a good talk with him. The fact that the other party did not directly charge at the moment of contact and allowed Lin Yuan to move the civilians to the rear was already the greatest kindness. After all, when the civilians left, Lin Yuan's scattered troops would also begin to gather here. The next day, early morning. The flag of the Xiong Wujuan fluttered 100 li away. Lin Yuan coiled his snake body in the camp. His eyes flashed with a hint of gloominess. The demonic beasts, demi-humans, association of the demonic emperor, and the Northern Frontier Guard Corps were all present. However, compared to the other party, their numbers were not even a third. Faction Battle Model, Name, Northern Frontier Defense Battle, in battle, attacking side, Shinwu Dynasty, Xiong Wujuan, weak, defending side, Association of the Demonic Emperor, Blackwater Dragon Palace, Northern Frontier Guard Corps, weak, evaluation. The evaluation of your factions is the same, but that is based on the average of all the factions in the Tianwu continent. Therefore, you have to know who is stronger and who is weaker. After all, I don't want to be a gardener who plants trees in your heart. If the host obtains victory in this battle, the host will be rewarded with 5,000 war points. If the host loses in this battle, the host will have to pay 5,000 war points. Note, the scale of the war is large. The system may issue war missions at any time. Please be aware. Glancing at the faction battle model, Lin Yuan's expression turned gloomy. For a moment, Lin Yuan even wanted to give up on the northern frontier. However, after careful consideration, he realized that he had spent almost all his war points during this period of development. He simply could not afford to pay the penalty for failure. And the price of deducting attribute points was equivalent to directly beating Lin Yuan back to the ground. If the system were to deduct, 10 war points would be equivalent to 1 attribute point. 5,000 war points would be equivalent to 500 attribute points. As a level 10 intelligent perception demonic beast, including the free attribute points, Lin Yuan's current total attribute points were only 830 attribute points. He had reached the threshold of the intelligent perception demonic beast. Black Snake, it seems that the Shinwu dynasty is serious this time. Bai Lu lazily laid down beside Lin Yuan, a hint of disdain in its eyes. It was different from Lin Yuan. The war between humans and demonic beasts had lasted for so many years. Both sides had countless experts, so anyone could die on the battlefield. However, once it left the battlefield, these humans would not be able to find it in the Hengduan Mountains no matter how powerful they were. Therefore, Bai Lu did not have any obsession with the outcome of this battle. It did not even care about it at all. At most, it would just hide back in the Hengduan Mountains. As if I'm not serious. A cold glint flashed across Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes. In the past half a month, he had entered the stage of transforming into a flood dragon. In the system's way, the progress bar of Lin Yuan's transformation into a flood dragon had reached 45%, and his free attribute points could still be improved. Lin Yuan guessed two things at the same time from these actions of the system. Firstly, this flood dragon transformation progress bar might last for quite a long time. After all, Lin Yuan had spent less than a year to progress from a beast-level black snake to a beast king in the outer regions of the Hengduan Mountains. Now, a bloodline advancement would take more than a month. It was indeed a very long time. Furthermore, with Lin Yuan's understanding of this damned system, this dog might even give him a mission when the progress was at 99% or 98%. Secondly, Lin Yuan now had 280 free attribute points on hand. Although he couldn't add them to his body, it was enough for him to level up 4 times in a row in the Wisdom Realm. However, in the Mountain Lord Realm, these 280 free attribute points didn't even have the qualifications to level up 1 level. Whether it was in the Hengduan Mountains or in the human world. The 2 words Black Snake meant a warmonger. This did not mean that Lin Yuan liked to fight. On the contrary, he preferred to be a salted fish. It was just that the aptitude of this body was so low that it made one's hair stand on end. According to his own cultivation method, even if he stayed near the green leaf water lotus, Lin Yuan felt that he might not be able to break through 1 level even if he cultivated in seclusion for 100 years. Therefore, if he wanted to grow, he could only choose to kill other living beings to obtain free attribute points. Therefore, although Lin Yuan did not like war, he did not reject it. Xiong Wujuan's army of 3 million might be an invincible army in the eyes of others, but in Lin Yuan's eyes, they could be called walking free attribute points. If he could kill them all, no, kill 1/3 of them. Lin Yuan expressed that it did not matter even if he lost this war. He did not believe that over 1 million humans could not even give him 500 free attribute points. Then, let's fight. Bai Lu's lazy posture was swept away. He stood up directly from the ground, his body emitting a colorful glow. Ding! Host has been strengthened, attack power increased by 5%. Ding! Host has been strengthened, defense power increased by 5%. Ding! Host has been strengthened, speed increased by 5%. Ding! Host has been strengthened, courage increased. Ding! Host has been strengthened, demonic power increased. A series of system notifications rang in his mind. In an instant, Lin Yuan's free attribute points increased by a lot. Bai Lu was different from Lin Yuan, who was alone. He was born in the 9-colored deer clan. Even if it was only a branch, he was still a member of a large clan. Therefore, when Bai Lu came to support Lin Yuan this time, he also brought a large number of members of the Trampling Mist clan over and directly gave all kinds of buffs to everyone. Chapter 280. However, Lin Yuan looked at the refreshed status buff prompt, and the corner of his eyes twitched slightly. Although the number of creatures buffed had indeed increased, and there were a few more Bai Lu who had not buffed him before, Lin Yuan felt that Bai Lu did not seem to have improved at all. The group status buff still maintained a 5% increase. If that was the case, Bai Lu might as well be pulled out from the large group and buffed him alone. Only one buff can exist on a creature. The weaker buff will be offset by the stronger buff. Also, the difference in strength between us is too great. If I buff you alone, it might not be as good as a group buff with fixed effects. Bai Lu smiled at Lin Yuan and took the initiative to explain, as if he had seen through Lin Yuan's thoughts. At the front of the group was a group of thick-skinned wisdom state monsters. There was no lack of mountain-shaking apes among them. After all, with a beast king like Lin Yuan overseeing the Stoneclaw forest, the monsters were extremely fortunate. They didn't need to rely on luck to find Fays. As long as they contributed enough to the Stoneclaw forest, they could exchange for Fays they needed from Na Qin. If there weren't any in the warehouse, Lin Yuan would also contact the caravans from the northern frontier to cross the Hengduan mountain range to purchase Fays from other dynasties. As for why the monsters in the Hengduan mountain range were so cooperative. First, Lin Yuan had become the uncrowned king of the Stoneclaw forest. Even among the monsters under Subaru's command, Lin Yuan was one of the more outstanding ones. Therefore, if they wanted to touch Lin Yuan now, they would need Subaru's permission. Even if this great beast king didn't care about trivial matters like territory and subordinates, it was undeniable that Subaru was the most prideful among the 3 great beast kings. Second, Lin Yuan's caravans crossing the Hengduan mountain range could not only generate huge profits for Lin Yuan, but they could also circulate the Fays in the entire Hengduan mountain range. From one end of the Hengduan mountain range to the other, different monsters' needs could be satisfied. It could be said that it was the result of a happy family. It wasn't that there weren't human merchants who wanted to do something similar, but they didn't have an existence like the black serpent above them. Therefore, the monsters naturally didn't treat them as allies. Once they stepped into the monsters' territory, they would only be attacked by countless monsters. Third, the current Lin Yuan could be said to be a great hero of the Hengduan mountain range, or even the monster beast clan. After all, pushing the monsters' territory out of the monster beast forest was something that many monsters didn't even dare to think about. Now, Lin Yuan had directly conquered the 7 border cities of the Xinwu dynasty and became the hidden controller behind the scenes. Not to mention the current tense situation, the other 6 great empires wouldn't find trouble with Lin Yuan. Even if the 7 great empires were restored to their peak, the humans had no excuse to find trouble with Lin Yuan. After all, the current northern frontier was under the control of the humans. Lin Yuan wasn't the first person to do this kind of thing. Just like the Fire Kirin and the forces behind it, humans really didn't lack in wanting their tamed monsters to enter the wild monsters' territory and then occupy a certain territory. They even wanted to obtain the right to speak in the entire Hengduan mountain range. Similarly, even if the monster beast palace knew about it, they could only swallow their anger. After all, those territories were still under the control of the monsters. Therefore, regardless of whether it was for the sake of fame or profit, Lin Yuan now had a death-free gold medal hanging on his body. It could even be said that a group of beast kings in the Hengduan mountains were looking forward to cooperating with Lin Yuan as if they were looking forward to the stars and the moon. Even Master, who was previously determined to obtain Lin Yuan and did not even hesitate to offend the Fire Qilin, gave up at this moment and did not dare to trouble Lin Yuan again. In short, the current Lin Yuan had already entered the eyes of the higher-ups of the Monster Beast Palace. Once they forced Lin Yuan into a corner, Lin Yuan would say something bad. Even if these purgatory monsters in disguise weren't completely wiped out, there probably wouldn't be many left. Charge! In the blink of an eye, the monsters in front of them had already formed a formation and were eagerly staring at Xiong Wujuan's camp. The northern frontier had removed the city walls because the existence of the city walls limited the monsters' abilities. Under Lin Yuan's control of the northern frontier, even if there was an external invasion, the monsters in the Hengduan mountain range would be able to rush over to provide support. It could be said that the monsters were the city walls of the northern frontier. If they wanted to invade the northern frontier, they would have to step over the corpses of the monsters first. Following Lin Yuan's order, the monsters in front of them roared and rushed towards Xiong Wujuan's camp. Facing an enemy that was 4 to 5 times their number, these monsters didn't have the slightest fear in their eyes. Instead, they were completely excited. The huge disparity in combat strength between the monsters and humans below the Heaven's Strength realm was the reason why Lin Yuan was determined to fight this war. After all, it wasn't that he had no chance of winning. On the contrary, under such circumstances, Lin Yuan's chances of winning this war were quite high. Xiong Wujuan's side was no pushover either. Although the composition of the troops was complicated, with scattered troops, mercenaries, and monster slayers mixed in with the original members of Xiong Wujuan's army, even a veteran general like Su Wu couldn't control them. However, they were still an army that the Xinwu dynasty had spent a lot of money to build. Facing the first wave of monsters' charge, Xiong Wujuan's army didn't seem to be afraid at all. They even took the initiative to open the gate of the camp and charged towards the monsters. However, Xiong Wujuan dared to do so because he had the confidence to do so. A single soldier's equipment weighed 3,500 pounds. If an airborne realm human wanted to charge and fight while wearing such heavy equipment, they would have to circulate spiritual qi throughout their body without the slightest bit of slack. Otherwise, they could be crushed to death by their own equipment. In the formation of the Northern Frontier Guard Corps, the city lord, who was born in the Xinwu dynasty's army, twitched the corner of his mouth. He had heard about Xiong Wujuan's army when he was recruiting people along the way. This was an army that was built with money. At first, he thought that this army was just recruiting mercenaries and monster slayers with a lot of money. However, after facing this army personally, he suddenly realized that the equipment of Xiong Wujuan's army was at least 2 levels higher than that of other armies of the same level. If the Xinwu dynasty were to have a civil war, perhaps only Xin Lin Jun, who had an average of 3,500 pounds of armor, would have been able to single-handedly crush this army. Otherwise, no other army would have been able to deal with this kind of hooligan tactics that directly pushed the front line. After all, they dared to directly charge at the monsters. One could only imagine how much confidence they had. Note that this wasn't a defensive formation, it was a countercharge. This meant that the commander of this army felt that his subordinates had at least a 60% chance of breaking through the monsters' front line. Chapter 281. In fact, the battle situation was indeed as such. In the first 6 minutes, the demon beasts were almost directly pressed to the ground. The ones at the front were almost all thick-skinned creatures like rhinoceroses and forest elephants. Although their attack might be a little weaker, their defense was definitely top-notch. If their confrontation was described as a battle between two humans, then Lin Yuan's side would raise his hand and use a shield attack. However, under such a tactic, Lin Yuan discovered that the demon beasts were actually unable to break through these heavy armor warriors at all. Although the momentum of these humans' charge was stopped, the demon beast's side was knocked over. There were even some demon beasts that were directly separated from the front line, crashing into the second line that was similar to the mountain-shaking apes, swamp crocodiles, hypertoxic lizards, and so on. Although their defense was not as good as the first line, their strength was not weak at all, and they could cause huge damage to the humans. If Lin Yuan had not long anticipated this scene and pulled apart the distance between the two sides, the formation would have been completely disrupted by the other side. Fortunately, although this moment was out of Lin Yuan's expectations, it only caused a little chaos. Standing on the observation platform of the temporary camp watching the battle, Suwu coldly snorted and said expressionlessly, "This black snake is quite cautious. But that's good, this is just the beginning. If you were to be killed so easily, then wouldn't I have been on tenterhooks all the way here for nothing?" For a veteran like Suwu, once the demon beast's formation was broken, then it would not be as simple as just a group of heavy armor warriors leaving the camp. It was even possible that the entire army would charge out and directly swallow the team in front of them. That would be no different from breaking the sharpest tooth in the black snake's mouth. Stall for time, do as much vigorous exercise as possible. Lin Yuan unusually calmly gave the second order. Through the method of telepathy communication, Lin Yuan could easily command every one of his subordinates even if he was standing at the back of the battlefield. After all, the two skills of olfactory imaging and all things have spirit were simply made for the commander profession. Compared with the commander of the other side, Lin Yuan had an unimaginable advantage. After all, he could observe every detail of the entire battlefield in detail, and all the instructions on his side could be transmitted to the minds of his subordinates fighting on the front line in the first place. However, the humans didn't have so many conveniences. Even a veteran like Su Wu couldn't observe the entire battlefield like Lin Yuan could through his sense of smell, and it was even more impossible for him to understand the situation of every demon beast and every soldier. He could only rely on his own experience and the general direction of the battlefield to determine what he should do next through the atmosphere of the battlefield and the general direction of the battle. Moreover, after coming up with a plan, Suwu had to first inform the messenger at his side, and then the messenger would inform the flag bearer. Then, the flag bearer would use the flag signal to send out a signal to the flag bearer, and then the flag bearer would inform the flag bearer. Although the entire process wasn't too complicated, the procedures were complicated. In the ever-changing battlefield, such a slow way of commanding was already out of line with Lin Yuan. Su Wu suddenly frowned. The demon beasts at the front suddenly changed their battle mode. None of the demon beasts went head-to-head with the heavy armor warriors. Instead, they began to twist and turn, and the range of their movements became larger and larger, causing the heavy armor warriors at the front to have to make large movements if they wanted to attack, and it might not even be effective. However, Su Wu didn't discover any strange movements from the other side. No matter how powerful a general was, no matter how high his tacit understanding with the soldiers under his command, he would still need a certain signal or hint before he could issue an order. However, there was clearly no movement from the Black Snake's side, and these demon beasts changed their previous rampaging posture and directly began a new battle strategy. Could it be that these demon beasts were all fighting according to their own ideas? Could it be that these demon beasts were all master tacticians? However, although Su Wu had obtained the information, his face didn't reveal the slightest change. He only lightly waved his hand and said to the messenger at his side, "Pass down the order. Have the soldiers at the front abandon the battle at hand and begin to return to the camp. Prepare the crossbow formation to receive them. No matter what, this batch of heavy armor warriors cannot be lost here." Just like when two human cultivators fought, the first move would often be a clash of blades. Lin Yuan wasn't willing to lose these demon beasts at the front, and Su Wu similarly didn't wish for the heavy armor warriors that the Xinwu dynasty had spent a lot of money to send out to directly lose here after disrupting the demon beast's first round of attack rhythm. The opponent wants to retreat. First Order demon beasts, bite them to death. Don't let them leave. Long-range attack, begin to accumulate power. Target, Xiongwu Army Camp. Prepare to shoot. Lin Yuan's command once again rang out in the hearts of the demon beasts and humans. There wasn't the slightest ripple in the heterochromatic eyes, but the indifference in Lin Yuan's eyes made people's hearts palpitate. The F***CK. This time, the demon beast's change in battle strategy made Su Wu unable to help but curse. The demon beasts at the front line had changed their battle strategy once again. From the initial brute force to the subsequent flexibility, and then to the current pushing and pulling, it had only been a matter of a few minutes. However, these demon beasts seemed to have grasped every rhythm in his heart. He hadn't even had time to give the order when the demon beasts on the other side had already guessed his thoughts and made a change in battle strategy. Hula, crackle, all sorts of strange sounds rang out by his ears. Su Wu slowly raised his head, his face suddenly so gloomy that it was almost dripping water. All sorts of fireballs, icicles, water arrows, wind blades, stone spikes, all sorts of elemental attacks condensed by the demon beasts rained down like raindrops. Although at such a distance, this degree of attack wouldn't cause any effective damage at all, if they encountered an unlucky individual, they might actually be smashed to death. The most terrifying thing was that the places covered by these innate attacks were the positions formed by the crossbowmen that had just been assembled. It was as if the demonic beast on the opposite side could read minds. Every order would be in front of him, and it could even directly suppress him to death. Su Wu's fists creaked as he clenched them at his sides. He wanted nothing more than to punch that black snake commander to death. If the other party's rhythm of command was always one step ahead of his, then he would have no choice at all. It would be better to let the soldiers under his command enter a free battle rhythm. Although for the new Xiongwu army, free battle was actually more suitable for them to display their fighting strength, in that case, what was the point of him, a general, existing? If this matter were to spread out, saying that he, Su Wu, had been beaten by a black snake to the point of giving up his command, then he wouldn't be able to command any battles in the future. He might even be directly hidden away. Chapter 282. Tell the archers to retreat. Don't fight the demonic beasts head-on. Su Wu waved his hand heavily as a sullen expression flashed across his face. The demonic beasts would be heavily injured after taking a round of crossbows, but the archers wearing leather or even cloth armor would also be heavily injured after taking a round of projectiles from the demonic beasts. This kind of mutually destructive behavior might be profitable in other times, but now, it would only make the following battle more difficult. However, Su Wu's retreat was Su Wu's retreat, but Lin Yuan had no intention of backing down. He even ordered the demonic beasts under his command to start accumulating power and adjust their positions according to the enemy's formation. After all, wouldn't it be a pity if he didn't make use of a skill like olfactory imaging? As a result, the archers who had already retreated from their original location were still reorganizing their formation when the various elemental attacks that fell from the sky caught them off guard. Although the distance was quite far and the accuracy was not high enough, this round of attacks still caused thousands of casualties. Continue to retreat. Su Wu felt a slight pain in his temples. It was as if his every move was under the eyes of the enemy. This feeling made Su Wu somewhat sullen, but he couldn't find any rhythm that could be used to counterattack. He could only brace himself and continue this battle. However, it had already become a subconscious action for Su Wu to look at the enemy's camp from time to time. It wasn't a secret that the Black Snake knew how to use troops, but he had never heard of it before. The Black Snake was telepathically connected with all the demonic beasts under its command. It could command on the spot just by relying on its thoughts. Therefore, he was very curious about the secrets of the Black Snake. He didn't believe that the Black Snake could command all the demonic beasts on the front line without doing anything. It could even observe the changes on the battlefield in detail. If there really was such an existence, it was no longer appropriate to describe him as a commander. He should be directly called the War God. He's starting to panic. The corner of Bailu's mouth widened, revealing a carefree smile. The demonic beasts and humans had been enemies for countless years. During this period, there were also countless wars that broke out. However, he had never heard of a demonic beast that could completely suppress humans in terms of tactical thinking and on-the-spot command. After all, humans had been studying the art of war for so many years. Even the 7 dynasties had their own set of flag signals other than the common set of flag signals. They just didn't want their opponents to see through their intentions of commanding. However, after encountering the Black Snake, this domain of war that humans had played so much with seemed to have completely fallen into a disadvantage. It might be difficult for a group of thick-skinned demonic beasts to defeat a group of heavy-armored soldiers, but it was too easy to pin them down. Therefore, in Lin Yuan's opinion, the enemy's commander could either send in more troops to forcibly escort these heavy-armored soldiers back to the camp, or directly close the camp gate and let these heavy-armored soldiers fend for themselves. If it was the former, the price Xiong Wujuan would have to pay would be even greater than the death of these heavy-armored soldiers. However, as a commander, he didn't only have to consider gains and losses. The most important thing was the problem of morale. After all, the composition of Xiong Wujuan's army was very complicated. If they gave up on any of the troops, the mercenaries and demon slayers would be worried about their gains and losses. They would feel that the next time something similar happened, they would be the ones to be abandoned. Bang. Su Wu heavily punched the guardrail of the observation deck. His gaze fell in the direction of Shunning City, and his eyes were full of gloominess. Although his total military strength was about 3 times that of the enemy, the margin for error was extremely low. The slightest carelessness would cause the army's morale to collapse. However, looking at the Black Snake's side, to put it bluntly, these humans who lived in the northern frontier should be the most resistant to demonic beasts. However, under the Black Snake's command, they instantly became united. Why? Because of benefits. With the Black Snake's banner, the northern frontier's caravans could freely enter and exit the Hengduan mountain range. Even the hunting tigers and herbalists could enter deeper into the Hengduan mountain range to collect fays. In addition, the Black Snake had many reforms in the northern frontier that were in progress. Not only did they provide food and shelter, but they also provided high wages. Even those lazy local ruffians had begun to join the Black Snake's team. Ever since the northern frontier was taken over by the Black Snake, these people's annual income had increased by at least 10 times. There was even a trade route through the Hengduan mountain range that led directly to the territories of the other 6 dynasties. The selling of fays was almost monopolized, and the quality of life of the commoners was even comparable to the aristocratic families in the 7 border cities. As the saying went, it was easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but difficult to go from extravagance to frugality. The Black Serpent was a living god of wealth in the eyes of the people of the northern region. Back then, the people of the northern region had resisted the demonic beasts as much as they resisted the Xinwu dynasty's takeover of this territory. Even, some mercenaries had spontaneously gathered and prepared to participate in the defense of the northern frontier. However, their numbers had not reached a certain scale, so they did not directly join the main battle. They had been following behind Xiong Wujuan and disrupting his transport of supplies. Although it was not a big problem, it was still a hidden danger that could erupt into serious problems at any time. Su Wu deliberated for a moment and took a deep breath. He said in a deep voice, "Sword shield soldiers, spear forest guards, go out. You must protect the formation breaker. In addition, the flying bear cavalry is ready to go out at any time. Once the demonic beasts continue to chase, you guys will patrol around the periphery and harvest a wave of demonic beasts when you have the chance." Understood. All the generals and officers cupped their fists in response. Although they knew what kind of price they would have to pay for this action, they still felt at ease when the commander did not give up on their brothers at the front line. And on the other side, General Na Qin crossed his arms in front of his chest. His gloomy gaze fell on the other side's open camp gate. He picked up the stone stick beside him and roared, "Brothers, let's go." All movements on the battlefield were high-intensity exercises. After all, if you held back even a little, your opponent could give you a fatal blow. Therefore, it was not only Xiong Wujuan's heavy armored warriors who were tired. The first batch of demonic beasts was also tired. To think that they alone could stop this batch of human reinforcements was clearly a fool's dream. However, Lin Yuan had already prepared a follow-up plan. This demonic beast army led by Na Qin was almost entirely made up of tigers and leopards. Whether it was combat power or mobility, they were not much worse than the cavalry prepared by the humans. Seeing the reinforcements from the Black Snake side, Su Wu closed his eyes in pain. He did not dare to imagine what kind of bloody massacre would follow. Chapter 283. The claws and teeth of the demon beasts collided with the weapons and armors of the humans, creating a series of sparks. Corpses were left on the ground one after another. With just a rough estimate, the first round of confrontation between the two sides had directly taken up nearly 50,000 lives. The smell of blood permeated the air. To humans, it was somewhat pungent. However, when the smell of blood was smelled by the demon beasts, it would arouse the demon beasts' desire to kill from the bottom of their hearts. Therefore, at this time, Lin Yuan not only had to pay attention to every movement on the battlefield, he also had to release his own aura to suppress the demon beasts that were ready to make a move. This was to prevent them from becoming slaves to the desire to kill. Finally, after the last human that did not have time to retreat died under Na Qin's stone rod, the Xiong Wujuan finally fell into silence after their initial insolence. They hid in the camp with their tails between their legs, not daring to make a sound. They did not even dare to take the initiative to provoke the conflict between the two sides. Even so, the demon beasts that were responsible for long-range attacks would still organize a volley of attacks from time to time. According to the coordinates given by Lin Yuan, they would attack the warriors in the Xiong Wujuan camp. After a few waves of attacks, the people in the Xiong Wujuan camp were in a state of panic. They did not even dare to gather together, because not only would that not give them the slightest sense of security, it would even attract the attacks of the demon beasts. Lin Yuan closed his eyes slightly, and there was a hint of tiredness in his eyes. Although the two skills, olfactory imaging and all things have spirit, for a long period of time, were extremely powerful in terms of commanding the battlefield, the consumption of one's energy was also extremely terrifying. In just a short while, Lin Yuan even felt that his vision was a little dark. A faint feeling of sleepiness was transmitted to his mind. Let's call it a day. Lin Yuan coldly threw down these words. Then, he took the initiative to turn around and walk towards the Shunning City's City Lord mansion. He felt that his body had already reached its limit. If he continued to force himself to fight, he might not be able to completely destroy the morale of the Xiong Wujuan army. Therefore, he decisively chose to withdraw his troops. As for Xiong Wujuan, Xiong Wujuan's unstoppable momentum had been suppressed. Next, he would prioritize whether or not Lin Yuan would notice his actions. Every decision he made was indecisive. Even if the other party had an absolute advantage in terms of military strength, sooner or later, they would be dragged down by the commander's indecisiveness. Taking a step back, Xiong Wujuan had suffered a setback as soon as he arrived at the northern frontier. His original self-confidence had been directly shattered. Now that the demon beasts did not take the initiative to attack them, they were already burning incense, let alone talk about counterattacking. No matter how capable the enemy commander was, it would take him at least 2 to 3 days to restore the morale and confidence of his subordinates after being suppressed on the first day. Night fell. Lin Yuan was awakened by a burst of noise. He could not help but sit up from the soft couch. Through the gap between the windows, he glanced at the small courtyard outside. 2 figures in black were tied together, staring blankly at the ground. The night was hazy. Lin Yuan did not want to stimulate his spirit, so he did not activate the olfactory imaging, nor did he see the other party's appearance. However, with so many people gathered in his small courtyard, Lin Yuan instinctively narrowed his eyes. A cold light flashed through his heterochromatic eyes. He used the snake head to open the window and looked over with his head tilted. Hu Yan was half squatting beside the two men in black. He had a cigarette in his mouth, frowning and thinking about something. Seeing Lin Yuan open the window, he slowly stood up from the ground and bowed. "I'm sorry, Demon Emperor. I'm sorry to disturb you. What's the matter?" Lin Yuan's eyes flashed with a touch of surprise. Only then did he get a clear look at the faces of the two men in black. They were both disciples of the collateral branch of the Hu family. Their talents were average, but they had the support of Hu Yan, the city lord of Shunning City. Usually, they were arrogant young masters in Shunning City. How could they be tied up here today? Moreover, Hu Yan was squatting next to them with a worried face. A thought sprouted in Lin Yuan's mind. Suddenly, a chill bloomed in his heterochromatic eyes. Seeing Lin Yuan's attitude, Hu Yan knew that Lin Yuan had already guessed why the two disciples of the Hu family were here at night. He could only lower his head and say in a low voice, "These two good-for-nothings were bewitched by evil people and wanted to assassinate Demon Emperor. It was only because I discovered it early that I came to stop them in time. Otherwise, it would have led to a disaster, and it would have been too late for me to regret it." What he meant by a disaster was obviously not that the two disciples of the Hu family had the ability to assassinate Lin Yuan. Even if Hu Yan were to do it himself, he wouldn't dare to say that he had 30% confidence. After all, the strength of the black snake had always been unfathomable. A 10th-level spirit awakening could take down a wisdom enlightening demon beast, and a 4th-level wisdom enlightening could take down a 9th-level airborne realm human. It was as if fighting above its level was as simple as eating a meal for the black snake. The big mistake Hu Yan was talking about was that once the plan of the two disciples of the Hu family to assassinate the black snake was carried out, the failure rate was almost 100%. After that, not only them, but the entire Hu family would not be able to escape the disaster. Hu Yan was very clear that although the black snake had taken in all the 7 city lords at the border, the only one he truly trusted was Lei Fan, who had always maintained a cooperative relationship with him. Of course, the fundamental reason for this trust was that the mountain-blocking city had already been destroyed. Lei Fan was equivalent to a young master who came out of nowhere and had no connections at the northern frontier. As a city lord, he wasn't even as loved as the black snake. However, the other 6 city lords were different. Each of them had been operating in the northern frontier for a long time. Although they didn't have the confidence to challenge the black snake, if they were really unhappy, they could instantly paralyze a third of the northern frontier. Therefore, the black snake had been buying people's hearts for more than half a month. At the same time, he was also looking for the flaws of the 6 city lords, hoping to eliminate them as soon as possible. Have you found out who contacted them? Lin Yuan's gaze fell on Hu Yan's face as he asked in an indifferent voice. Although the status of most of the disciples of the Hu family was not as good as before, their economic income was definitely not low. If not for the more attractive conditions, why would they risk their lives to assassinate the young master of the Hu family instead of the young master of the Hu family? The occurrence of this incident also meant that the spies of the Shinwu dynasty had silently sneaked into Shunning City and began to plan a sabotage operation. No matter what, Lin Yuan had to find them as soon as possible. Otherwise, who knew what these guys could do? Chapter 284. They refused to say. Hu Yan glared angrily at his 2 nephews, a look of indignation on his face. He had worked himself to death in the front, even bearing the infamy of Patian, all so that the Hu family would not fall, so that those useless juniors in the family could live a better life. But now, these juniors had almost handed the knife to kill him to the black snake. How could he not be angry? Refused to say. Why don't I ask? Immediately, a frivolous voice sounded. Lei Fan, Luo Su, and Li Zhongxing, who had rushed over, slowly appeared. With just a glance, Lin Yuan's gaze was fixed on Luo Su, who was standing on the right side of Lei Fan, his body covered in white bandages. The temperature in his multicolored eyes was even colder than when he had heard that someone wanted to kill him. It was a very familiar scent. That was the power of a demonic beast from purgatory. Lin Yuan, who had dealt with his lordship countless times, almost at the moment he saw Luo Su, he could feel the power of purgatory from Luo Su. It was also at this moment that Mo Luo, who was in charge of guarding Lin Yuan, took a step forward. A pair of cold and ruthless eyes fell on Luo Su, and he immediately bared his fangs. As Lin Yuan's first experimental subject, Mo Luo had been groomed by Lin Yuan to be an intelligent perception third-level existence. Although it was not considered much among the many beast kings in the Hengduan Mountains, but it was still considered a mainstay under Lin Yuan's command. Now, it could feel the same kind of aura from Luo Su, and it instantly felt as if its tail had been stepped on. This is... Lin Yuan did not put on any airs, and directly came out from the window, his gaze fixed on Luo Su's face. The hostility in his eyes was obvious. Lei Fan cleared his throat and said, "This is Luo Su, one of my right-hand men. That brother Mi you mentioned earlier was also interrogated by Luo Su, but in the end." Speaking up to this point, Lei Fan had already stopped himself from continuing, as his eyes revealed a tinge of nervousness. Although the black snake had never brought up that matter, Lei Fan could not help but feel flustered in his heart. After all, the black snake's style had always been to kill decisively, and within a short period of time, Luo Su was extremely important to Lei Fan. Now that Luo Su had suddenly bumped into the black snake, and the black snake was even exuding an inexplicable hostility, Lei Fan's heart was immediately in suspense. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes and swept his gaze across Luo Su and Lei Fan, his eyes revealing a profound look. Even if a purgatory fiend beast could disguise itself as an ordinary fiend beast, it was still very difficult for it to suppress its violent instincts. Once it was stimulated, it would be even harder for it to control itself. If the one who interrogated Brother Mi was this Luo Su, then he could understand why Brother Mi died in the interrogation room. But from the looks of it, Lei Fan did not seem to know that Luo Su was a purgatory creature. This was very interesting. Seeing that the black snake's attention was on him, and thinking of the black snake's inexplicable hostility, Luo Su could only shrug his shoulders, and a cold smile appeared on his face. Previously, he could not figure out why the black snake had shown such hostility when they had first met. But now, it seemed that the black snake had long held a grudge against him because of the incident with Brother Mi. If not for Lei Fan's mediation, the black snake might have already made a move on him. The black snake, Lei Fan, and Luo Su stood from 3 different angles to understand this matter. Each of their understanding had a certain degree of deviation, but they all tacitly chose to remain silent. "Alright, then I'll leave it to you. I hope to get some useful information." Lin Yuan nodded lightly at Luo Su. The purgatory fiend beasts were very interested in destruction, and the 2 young masters of the Hu family were born with a silver spoon in their mouths. They might not even be able to withstand a vicious beating, not to mention Luo Su, who was proficient in interrogation and was very interested in it. Not to mention a few spies who had infiltrated Shunning City, even the location of their ancestral tombs would be revealed. On the other side, in the Xiongwu army's camp, Su Wu's face was gloomy as he placed both hands on the war sand table, his gaze sweeping across the topographic map of the northern frontier. He had suffered enough at the hands of the Black Snake today. Towards the Black Snake's meticulous observation of the battlefield, as well as the invisible and formless way of commanding that was always one step ahead of him, he had suffered enough. If they were to fight again in a short period of time, it would just be repeating today's disadvantage. "Everyone, what do you think?" Su Wu's gaze fell. Below, the group of officers, the mercenary corps commander, and the demon-subduing group commander all lowered their heads in silence. After a long while, a 20-something officer slowly stood up and said in a low voice, "General Su, the Black Snake's commanding ability is a little too strong. If both sides station their main forces here, the only result is that we will be nibbled away by them bit by bit, and finally completely lose all hope of victory." Continue. Su Wu gave him an encouraging smile and nodded lightly. What the officer said was indeed the truth. If both sides' main forces were to be gathered here, they would only be nibbled away by the other side bit by bit. Seeing Su Wu's encouragement, the young officer's face flushed red as he said in a low voice, "So, I was thinking if we could be a little bolder. Since we have an absolute advantage in numbers, why don't we take the initiative to split our forces? It seems feasible. This is a good idea." The other generals also nodded in agreement with the young general's suggestion. After all, their current numbers were 3 times that of the Black Snake's corps. If they were to take the initiative to split their forces, the Black Snake's main forces would still have to stay here to deal with them. Otherwise, once the difference in strength between the two sides was too great, Su Wu's side would not even need to use any tactics and could directly flatten the Black Snake's camp. However, if the Black Snake did not split their forces, the other cities in the northern frontier would be basically defenseless in their eyes. Even if they did not succeed in winning this war, they could plunder large amounts of feys and wealth, and at the same time, suppress the Black Snake's development. Once the Shinwu dynasty survived this period, wouldn't it be easy to deal with a small Black Snake? Then it's decided. Let's split up and fight. Su Wu nodded slightly and once again looked at the war sandbox in front of him. He said in a low voice, "Xiongruei, you will lead the Flying Bear cavalry around Shunning City and launch a surprise attack in this direction. Li Qi, you will lead the archers and the Divine Crafts camp to this direction. Along the way, you will build defensive fortifications and reduce the living space of the Black Snake and his corps. I don't believe that all the Hengduan Mountain Range's demon beasts are genius commanders. Also, Xiao Yi, I will leave these mountain paths to you. Set up strongholds and don't give the Black Snake's subordinates a chance to sneak attack us from behind." Chapter 285. The next day, early in the morning. Xiong Wujuan's movements in the camp attracted the attention of many people, but Lin Yuan remained in Shunning City. There was not a single ripple in his eyes, as if Xiong Wujuan's tactic of dividing his forces had no effect on him. "Lord Yao Emperor." Hu Yan bowed as he walked into the city lord's manor. He then bowed to Lin Yuan, who was sitting cross-legged. "Have you found it?" Lin Yuan raised his eyelids, and a touch of splendor flashed in his eyes. The owner of the tailor's shop in the south of the city was a spy that the embroidered guard had placed in Shunning City long ago. The Great Shun restaurant in the west of the city where they met was also one of the embroidered guard's secret bases. According to our investigation, at least 70% of the embroidered guard spies in Shunning City have been uncovered. Aside from a few embroidered guard members who committed suicide, the rest have been detained and are awaiting interrogation. We should be able to uncover more embroidered guard bases and members. A strange light flashed in Hu Yan's eyes. He didn't know why Xiong Wujuan's actions hadn't attracted the Black Snake's attention. However, the Black Snake was extremely interested in the embroidered guard spies in Shunning City. It seemed as if it wanted to exterminate them all. "You are very confused. You think that I am indifferent to the threat before me, but I am concerned about a bunch of spies and spies. This is no different from a slow suicide, right?" Lin Yuan's lips curled into a faint smile. He said in a deep voice, "Xiong Wujuan's tactic of dividing his forces is an open one. Even if we know about it, we can't do anything to them. In fact, this is indeed the case. That is why I am not concerned about their actions. But let's take a step back. Tell me, why would Xiong Wujuan, who clearly came from another region, dare to divide his forces in the northern frontier with you natives?" Although Lin Yuan maintained a smile on his face, there was no trace of a smile in his eyes. Even his voice was somewhat cold. It was as if he was on the verge of exploding with rage. "You mean?" Hu Yan's eyes flashed with horror. The northern frontier wasn't like the southern plains or coastal areas. There were a lot of forests in the northern frontier. If it weren't for those experienced hunters, it would be very easy for them to get lost in the forests. However, a group of foreign Xiong Wujuan dared to divide their forces in such a terrain. This meant that Xiong Wujuan didn't just have eyes and ears in the northern frontier. The Xinwu dynasty definitely had a lot of spies in the northern frontier. Among them, there was no lack of guides who understood the terrain of the northern frontier. The reason why Xiong Wujuan dared to do this was either because they had the confidence, or because the leader of Xiong Wujuan was a complete fool. He didn't know how terrifying the complex terrain of the northern frontier was. Moreover, it was currently winter. It could be considered one of the most terrifying periods of the northern frontier. If one accidentally entered the forests and encountered a sudden snowstorm, the surroundings would be covered in a vast expanse of whiteness. Their footprints would be completely buried. Even an experienced guide could get lost in the forests. Of course, it would be fine if they only got lost in the forests. However, the most terrible thing was that most of the forests in the northern frontier were connected to the Hengduan mountain range. If they didn't choose the right direction and rashly moved forward, it was very likely that they would enter the Hengduan mountain range. It was even possible that they would break into the nest of a powerful demon beast. Although the northern frontier was now under the rule of the Black Snake, in the eyes of many demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range, humans were still incomparably hateful existences. Only when the northern frontier caravan could generate enough income for the Hengduan mountain range, would Lin Yuan be able to apply for some status symbols from the demon beast palace. And only when these status symbols were displayed in time, the demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range wouldn't rashly attack humans. Lin Yuan flicked his tongue. His eyes flashed with a hint of coldness as he coldly said, "Since I can't deal with their division strategy for the time being, I will first dig out these people's eyes today." There were too many secrets in the northern frontier. After all, Lin Yuan's previous world was prosperous and powerful. It was a world of peace that the people of this world couldn't imagine. Therefore, in Lin Yuan's view, there were too many things that needed to be changed in this world. However, now wasn't the time to announce them. He could only implement them in the northern frontier. Moreover, Lin Yuan wasn't selfless enough to let his opponents become rich and powerful. Eliminating these spies was the most important thing right now. As for the division strategy, wait until Xiong Wujuan's troops pulled apart a certain distance. Lin Yuan would then tell them how stupid and laughable this kind of action was. Humans and demonic beasts had been fighting for so many years. Although the demonic beasts had always been the ones who lost, it was undeniable that the demonic beasts still occupied the Hengduan mountain range in the center of the Tianwu continent. It wasn't only because the Seven Empires hoped that the demonic beasts in the Hengduan mountain range could restrain their opponents. More importantly, even if the Seven Empires gathered their strength, it was still impossible to completely eliminate the demonic beasts. Even if they could eliminate the demonic beasts, the Seven Empires would suffer great losses. It was even possible that both sides would perish together. The monstrous beast's powerful individual combat ability was displayed here. Monstrous beasts below the Heavenly Dipper realm, not to say that a monstrous beast could fight against 10 humans of the same realm on the battlefield, but fighting against 3 was definitely not a problem. The reason why Xiong Wujuan could be in a stalemate with him was entirely because Xiong Wujuan's total military strength was superior to his. Hence, Lin Yuan didn't dare to act rashly. But after 2 days, that would be another matter altogether. Lin Yuan really wanted to thank the existence who suggested the division strategy. First of all, it was certain that among the demonic beasts, there were people who were good at commanding in battle. But for someone like Lin Yuan, there weren't many of them. Hence, to a certain extent, the division strategy could indeed counteract Lin Yuan's bug-like commanding ability. Then the question was, when demonic beasts fought against humans, did they really need to be commanded? Hesitation would lead to defeat. When demonic beasts fought against humans, they would be at a disadvantage if they played tricks and schemes. Hence, they only needed to make use of their strong physiques to charge forward recklessly, and that would be it. Lord Demon Emperor, City Lord Hu. Lei Fan walked quickly into the City Lord's residence, his brows creased together. Anyone who saw him would be able to tell that he had met with quite a bit of trouble. What's wrong? Lin Yuan and Hu Yan opened their mouths and asked at the same time. Because it was Luo Su's interrogation, Lei Fan was in charge of investigating the embroidered uniform guards. At this moment, Lei Fan appeared before them with a face full of worry. Hence, they quickly connected the dots that something had gone wrong with the investigation of the embroidered uniform guards. Trouble, big trouble. Lei Fan shook his head, his face full of bitterness as he said in a deep voice, I had thought that the embroidered uniform guards lying dormant in the northern frontier were just a bunch of nobodies who couldn't be brought to the table. But. Chapter 320, Monthly Votes. Chapter 286. But what? Lin Yuan and Hu Yan asked at the same time. The embroidered uniform guards were not some random Tom, Dick or Harry. If one had to give an example, this organization was similar to the Ming dynasty's embroidered uniform guards in Lin Yuan's previous life. Furthermore, it was not the embroidered uniform guards that had become the lackeys of the East faction, but could even be compared to the embroidered uniform guards that Liu Bing was in charge of. To such a secret organization, even the slightest mistake could lead to a series of huge problems. After the previous incident, I have not been at ease, so when Luo Su was interrogating him, I had been monitoring him. Previously, there had not been any problems, but just now. I saw that the person being interrogated was Zhang Shi. Lei Fan's voice was not loud, but the name Zhang Shi, when Hu Yan heard it, was like a sudden clap of thunder. SSS. The sound of a cold breath being sucked in suddenly came out from Hu Yan's mouth. After a while, Hu Yan still looked like he had not recovered from his shock, his face full of confusion as he said, You said that the person being interrogated was Zhang Shi, is it the Zhang Shi that I am thinking of? Lei Fan did not reply, only nodding his head heavily. As the Beast King of the Hengduan Mountains, Lin Yuan knew of the Xinwu dynasty's divine martial emperor, and also knew of some famous generals that dealt with demonic beasts. But regarding the internal secret organization of the Xinwu dynasty, he did not know much about it and could only look on in confusion. But from Lei Fan and Hu Yan's reaction, he could tell that this Zhang Shi was not simple. Although in such a secret organization, anyone who could be caught so easily was definitely not a big fish, but from the reaction of the two, if this Zhang Shi was not a big fish that had been caught by chance, then this Zhang Shi must have some kind of formidable existence standing behind him. And it must be the kind of existence that they did not dare to offend even after they had seen through the Xinwu dynasty. The Embroidered Guard is a secret organization that belongs to the Xinwu dynasty. It's also a sect. In terms of power, the Embroidered Guard is definitely not inferior to the Sword Dancer or the Shadow Walker. They specialize in investigation, assassination, and espionage. The current leader of the Embroidered Guard is Zhang Xiu. Zhang Shi was Zhang Xiu's nephew. To Zhang Xiu, who had no wife or children, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that Zhang Shi was his son. Most importantly, Zhang Shi's ability wasn't weak. It was even to the extent that he could be considered an outstanding figure amongst the younger generation of the Embroidered Guard. For someone as capable as Zhang Shi, his arrogance is inevitable. That's why there are very few cases within the Embroidered Guard that can make Zhang Shi personally take action. According to my investigation, this Zhang Shi wasn't captured by our people from a secret base of the Embroidered Guard. Instead, he swaggered out to surrender himself. As Lei Fan spoke, he couldn't help narrowing his eyes. He said in a low voice, the feeling that Zhang Shi gives me is that he is deliberately reminding us that Zhang Xiu has already noticed us and has specially sent Zhang Shi to greet us. After all, Zhang Xiu has been tested countless times over the years to reach his current position. His self-confidence has long since turned into a thick conceit. At the same time, his actions, Lin Yuan's face darkened as he continued Lei Fan's words. He said in a cold voice, he is also exerting psychological pressure on you. If I'm not wrong, this Zhang Xiu is not only the leader of the Embroidered Guard, he is also an extremely terrifying existence. His targets usually don't have good endings, right? Lin Yuan was very clear that the name of Black Snake had been spread far and wide in the northern frontier. Not just anyone could come to the northern frontier to provoke him. Therefore, this Zhang Shi who had swaggered out to expose himself must have had full confidence that the two words Zhang Xiu would be enough to make these people in the northern frontier lose their initial confidence in Black Snake. This kind of psychological tactic was not foreign to Lin Yuan. It could even be said that he was very familiar with it. Facts had proven that from Hu Yan and Lei Fan's actions, Zhang Shi's actions had indeed dealt a blow to the confidence of these people who had just submitted to Lin Yuan not long ago. It's not just terrifying. Hu Yan shook his head with a look of fear. He frowned and said, Zhang Xiu has taken over the embroidered guard for almost 7 years now. He has taken over a total of 103 missions. Every target that Zhang Xiu has set his eyes on had no chance of survival. Besides, it's hard to say what level Zhang Xiu's cultivation has reached. But Zhang Xiu's battle record of killing a Heavenly Dipper realm expert is real. And it's not just once. It was only at this moment that Lin Yuan's eyes showed a slight ripple of emotion. The success rate of Zhang Xiu's missions and his reputation in the Sky Martial continent had nothing to do with him. The law of the jungle applied to all places. As long as one had enough strength, no matter how famous a cultivator was, they could be killed with a single punch. And if one's strength was not enough, even if one had an awe-inspiring reputation, they would only be stepped on by the ambitious younger generation. But he had killed a Heavenly Dipper realm existence, and not just once. With this battle record, it was indeed a little frightening. Lin Yuan, who had not completed his transformation into a flood dragon, did not know what level the battle prowess of a Heavenly Dipper realm existence was. So even if he entered the state of blood boil, he did not have complete confidence that he could compare to a Heavenly Dipper realm existence. If there was still time, Lin Yuan would not have to panic. But now that Zhang Shi had jumped out, it naturally meant that Zhang Xiu was also on the way. What should we do? A trace of panic flashed across Hu Yan's face. Originally, he had no choice but to rely on Black Snake to save his life. Later on, the benefits that Black Snake could bring were too tempting. Being a city lord at the border of the Shenwu dynasty was tantamount to being exiled. So, working under Black Snake was actually much more comfortable than working under the Shenwu dynasty. But at this moment, Hu Yan suddenly regretted giving up the powerful and deep-rooted Shenwu dynasty and switching to Black Snake's subordinates. After this war, Black Snake might be able to continue living. After all, it was backed by the Hengduan mountain range. Moreover, Black Snake had the bloodline of the Dragon clan in its body. At the same time, with the Hengduan mountain range and the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas, the Shenwu dynasty would not dare to directly ask Black Snake to pay with its life. But a traitor like him had no chance of survival at all. Let's take one step at a time. If Zhang Xiu is really that scary, the Azure River Empire and the Frost Mirror Empire would not dare to invade the Shenwu dynasty. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with a trace of ridicule as he said this in a teasing manner. Zhang Xiu might have indeed placed his attention on him, but with such a precarious situation, Zhang Xiu might not dare to directly come to the northern frontier to find trouble with him. 340 monthly votes plus more. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.